Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Make Some Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Make Some is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Make Some is here to make sure your printing experiences run smoothly from start to finish. And right now, you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, some of them you have even heard about on this very show. And it currently offers services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they are running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, and the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on that order. Also, PCW Supplies has a code with me called Pop Anime Comics at checkout, where you will save 10% on your entire order. That's long boxes, bags, boards, anything you need from that store. They got it, 10% off your entire order. It is a commission link, and I get a commission back on the entire sale. And of course, right now my Kickstarter is running and it is fully funded. So I got, I think, 12 days left. So if you can, please pledge, and you're watching this, seeing it, I appreciate all the support there. And without further ado, I have with me returning guest, comic artist Michael DiPascale. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks.
You know, I am very excited to have you back because you got a lot of stuff going on. You were back, and the first interview we did was about 6 months ago. And a lot of stuff has come out with you, and I have a feeling we're going to go both forward and backwards at the exact same time. And I kind of want to start with showcasing a book from Xenoscope, because that's my bread and butter in a lot of ways, that made me reach out to you. And I found this one in the wild. And so I want to start with this one because I found this one in the wild, and I was at a comic shop. I found it with the Xenoscope Issue 5 back in the day, from the early days. And obviously, I just wanted to show this case book out because I love it. And this is why I reached out to you when I'm like, oh, man, I know exactly who did this book without even looking at your trademark on it. And so we're starting it out this way, hot and busy, if you will.
That was a fun cover. You know, they made a print of that, too. You could buy prints. There was a mini print, I believe, that Xenoscope offered.
I love this cover because my mom doesn't like it, and that means I should like it. So, but it was like $5 in the store, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly. I gotta buy this one, and I'm done right there. Because who doesn't love like a sexy girl on a horror pinup book? I mean that's just how I view it.
You know what's sad is I can't remember if this. I think this was supposed to be Belle. I think.
Probably. We should probably just call Dave up and see if Dave's busy.
I can't. Don't call Dave. I'm going to say I think that was Belle.
Because it wouldn't be Van Helsing. Because if it was Van Helsing, you would have the goggles, right?
Yeah.
So if it was Van Helsing, it would look like this.
Yeah, that's Van Helsing one for sure.
So this has to be Belle. By definition, it has to be. And Don't worry. I'm going to totally send this to Dave and ask him because it's Belle is Dave's. It'll be even better if it's not, and it's going to be great. Your career and my career are going to be over with Xenoscope.
Oh, don't do that. You know what? I'll tell you if that's Belle in a second. You know, I have all the files still. I have everything, like all the different characters that I've done, like the Armed Forces one, Belle, the Black Knight, Croc Warrior.
While you're waiting for that, and us.
That is Belle. That is.
See, I love it though, because what I love about these books is that it features a lot of art, and the fact that it's a pinup book, and then this is a pinup cover, it makes sense. And when I saw it in the wild, I'm like, oh man, this is an awesome book. I don't have it, and there you go.
That's all they have me do, are the pinup. Dave hits me up. He sends me an email. Says, "Hey, are you available? I need and then he says a pinup of, and then he gives me the character, and then he gives me some reference, and then sometimes they give me a background or a setting, and then sometimes it's just the character itself. So
So I figured we would start off with this one because this is why this interview is happening. It's like, oh man, I had Michael DiPascale on it. Wow, I just got one of his books. It's awesome. Found it in the wild. And then you've done a lot of other stuff since then. And I do want to dive into some of the newer stuff with Xenoscope before we get to some of the fun stuff. And I'm going to let everybody know that you know, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise. But this is definitely one of the newer things that you've done. And I know that you just sold the original art to it as well.
I did. That's the Steampunk Witch was a new character. I get a lot of the new characters, not the odd villains and stuff that they have me do every once in a while.
And so what was this like? Because it's a cool background, but also steampunk is really, really hot right now. Obviously, it's a new character. I don't even know if that character technically appeared in this book or it's appearing in the next one because Xenoscope's weird sometimes with that. But it's also, I think, this character's first appearance on a cover.
I think so.
What is this like? Because obviously it's a new character being brought into the world.
This was just another one of those. They send me an email and they give me reference of what they've already designed. Because I've designed a few characters for them. And then this one was designed by someone else. The last couple has been designed by someone else. And they said, you know what? Let's put her on the ship, the steamboat ship, the steampunk ship. And they gave me some reference of what the ship was supposed to look like, and I just placed her in there. Sanju did all the rest with the sun behind it and the coloring. He did a great job on this one.
Yeah. Let's even talk about that because you do a lot of coloring of your own cover work.
Yeah,
in Xenoscope, they have you working with Sanju. And Sanju can color anything. And Sanju can do any color, do any style. And that guy's a workhorse.
Yeah,
unbelievably talented. Obviously, he was on. And then I think you were on after him the first round. And what is that like working with Sanju? Because it must be a little bit complicated when in every other company you work for, you do it yourself, and then you're handing it over to Sanju. And what is that like for you as an artist?
Well, you know, initially it was really nervous because I didn't know who was going to color my stuff. I had no idea, and I was unfamiliar with Sanju's work. And the very first cover that I did was the Queen of Hearts that Sanju had colored. And I was thoroughly happy and highly impressed with it. And a few months later, I saw Dave at the Motor City Con. And he said, yeah, he was going to team Sanju and me up. He knew that our covers would look great, my style with his coloring. And I've been happy with everything that he's done since then. He's covered every single one of my covers but two for Xenoscope.
Yes.
I couldn't be happier.
And I just love the way Sanju does things. And I personally think that, and I want this from Xenoscope, and I'm very honest, I want a Sanju cover. I want Sanju to have his own cover at this point. And I think Xenoscope should do it because I think it'd be an amazing cover.
You know, on top of being a good colorist, he's actually a really outstanding artist also. He does a lot of digital painting, like just, you know, portrait painting and stuff. And his work is outstanding. He's very talented.
I mean, I may or may not be running a Kickstarter maybe in July, August. Maybe I should hit up Sanju and be like, do you want to do a cover for it? Like, do you want to do your first comic cover ever?
Sure.
Like, I'll pay you whatever you want. I think it'll be great. Maybe I should have Sanju draw it and then I should have you color it.
I could do that.
Just to completely mix it up and just make it really, really exciting and go down that rabbit hole. But I want to see a Sanju cover in Xenoscope really badly.
I would like to also.
Because I think he just does some amazing work. And then obviously we showed him this one the last time. But I have 2 copies of this book. And
did you get the Frisbee?
I didn't get the Frisbee.
Oh!
Let me explain. This is why I won't get the Frisbee, right? So I have a physical disability. And the reason why I make this up is I walk on crutches. So me getting the Frisbee would just legitimately sit in a drawer because I can't use it. Like
it's a collectible. You're not supposed to throw it. It's just supposed to sit on a shelf.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the Frisbee will go as much in value as the book will. So
Probably not.
And at least with the book, I can like get the book CGC and then I can like hang it on a wall, or I can mat the book into a frame and just frame the book and actually look at it. Or you have an extra copy because one of your friends might do something with it. So
none of that.
Oh, this show has gotten completely into the gutter, and we're not even past month 1 yet. So, yeah, I love this cover, and I just won't get a frisbee because it'll legitimately sit in a shelf. It won't even be put on, like, it'll sit in a drawer. It won't even go on the shelf. Like, I would much rather like just buy like Xenoscope shot glasses because those things have applicational use.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I digress right there. And then
I just drank out of the bottle, so.
I mean, if anybody saw me on the show that got me funded on my Kickstarter, it's clear I have a drinking problem. So I'm well aware. I'm well aware of every problem I have. I got no shame anymore. I got no shame. I'm past the point of shame, and I'm past the point of admitting anything like or denying anything at this point.
Hold your head up. Be proud.
I'm proud of everything. I'm proud of all my scars. Let's just leave it at that. But this is another cover that just recently came out.
Yeah.
This is 49, and I like this too because I like you drawing pretty women pinup style, but I love your background work. And this is something that I think you excel at. Is the background in this is just as good as the girl holding a sword.
They wanted something that was similar to the X-Men's mansion inside the school. So Google and look for it. Look for something.
Well. Now that we've established that, and then obviously I think Sandra did the background and then all the coloring.
Yep. And
obviously, this is just one of those things, and it's just like it's so perfect because a lot of Xenoscope books, I feel, some of them obviously have pretty girls on them, and a lot of it with you and your covers is a lot of it's just background. It feels like a whole scene is taking place with the pinup versus just a pinup being there, and it's very, very cool for me because I'm like, this looks actually like art, and I can make a better argument to my mom that this isn't ultra pinup and that it's art versus a cover, and nothing against this cover, but a cover like this, it's a lot harder to make that argument versus a cover like this.
I just sent you the line art for my latest cover. It's in your messenger.
I'll be looking at that in a second as soon as we pull this one up.
Okay. That's another new character.
So what's the story behind this one? Because this one also just came out.
This was another one they sent me, specs, costume design, and said they just wanted a pinup. This is one that I didn't put a cover on. Instead, I put some of that scroll work and almost like a border on it, and then Sanju turned it with the gold. But that is boy, what cover character was that? That's from the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah. They just released like a new character with her.
Yeah.
And I don't even know this new character. I'm a little bit, off of Xenoscope, but obviously I don't even know this character. But I know they just released like a first appearance, and they were talking about that. I think Amber was talking about it. And I don't catch every new Comic Wednesday, Xenoscope fans. I know I'm committing a cardinal sin here. But I know that this just came out, and obviously it's very pinup-esque and new character and just showing what she can do, and it's a super, super interesting character. And I don't know what's going on with her though. I'm a little bit out of the loop on that stuff. And then there's some other stuff I want to show too, that we may or may not be allowed to show, but we're going to do it anyway.
Okay.
So this also is
coming in previews. You're good.
That's in previews. And so I don't know the story behind this one. I don't even know what book this is.
Oh, you're going to make me look. This is the Limbo Queen.
So that's the Limbo Queen. And I like this one because this one is also sort of pinup, but it's like gothic pinup for lack of a better word. And so what's the story behind this one? Because obviously I think this is in previews. This is coming out either February or March, I think.
Yeah. She's just a villain. Just a villain of the book. I'm not sure what character she's the villain in or of or to or for. I don't know if she's Sky's or whose, unfortunately. But that was just another one, you know. I just get emails that say, can you do it? Is it enough time? So,
and the answer is yes, right? The answer is never no.
No, I've never turned it. I've always asked for, you know, I've let Dave know a little more time would be helpful. But, you know, I grind him out for him. I give him at least a day cushion, you know.
So let's talk about that, because this is something that every artist works differently, where some artists need a week to build out a cover. Some artists can build out a cover in 3 days. Like, how does it work with you from, you know, you get the email to when it's due and everything in between? Because I think this is something that's so interesting, is where do you start going and start saying, hey, you know, I need a week, I need 10 days, I need 14 days, you know, because different people operate differently.
I've gotten between 3 and 5 days from them, but I always produce earlier than that. I think that might be my curse. That's why they keep squeezing the time down. They know they can hit me up late and I'll still get it done. But it's a lot of pinups, so there's not a whole lot of planning. The only ones that take a little more planning are the ones where they want a specific background. You know, like the one I sent you. That was a day to do her, and then a day to do the background.
So let's even talk about that, because, you know, obviously I can't draw for shit. You know, somebody tried to teach me how to draw on one of my podcasts, and I did an okay job. You know, I'm not an artist. It's not a skill set. Obviously, I'm going to try to improve my skills. And if I can draw somewhat decent, if I can draw a 20% good Spider-Man, I will be ecstatic. I will be beyond happy. I will love it. It'll be great. And then I'll go create my own variant line, and it'll be a blast. But what is this like in planning something like this out? Because obviously you got to draw the girl. You got to figure out what she's going to look like. And you got to make sure she makes sense in the comic and in the background. And then also you got to make sure that it's colorable to some degree as well.
When I have to color them, when I paint my own, I'm not as detailed, because I know that it's a pain in the ass to paint that shit. So when I'm just doing the line art, I'll go heavy detail. But I know that a lot of stuff, like I know that a third of that background Sanju's gonna blur out a bit of. So I know I don't need to be precise on it. But it comes down to a pose, something that shows the character well. What a lot of people don't understand is sometimes, you know, they shit on covers because they don't like certain poses or certain views, or it just doesn't. They just don't like it, and they immediately want to blame the artist. Well, what these people don't know is that I need to turn in at least 2 rough ideas, and then the editors choose. The final product is what the editor chooses. It's what Dave chooses. So if you don't like a cover I draw, blame Dave.
So that's something that's actually very interesting, and I don't want to blame Dave. I like Dave. Dave's been on my show. I would like Xenoscope to still sell to me. I make money with Xenoscope. Okay, yeah. You know. I want to. You still want cover work, and I still want to make money. So we love Dave. Dave's the best, guys.
Yes, Dave is.
but in all seriousness, though, and joking aside, I don't think Xenoscope's going to fire you or me. I work with them, so they can't fire me. So this is, as I stated, this entire show is going straight downhill.
Okay.
It's not even past like episode 13, and this show's already in the gutter for the year. But anyhow, how does that even work? Because this is something I think people don't understand when you work for big companies. You're not submitting one idea to them.
I got to submit at least 2. I have tried to get away with just giving Dave one, and he always like, no, I'm going to need at least one more. So and then I got to grind another rough out. I try to do different poses and give each face a different look when I send them in, and then they choose. And sometimes I say, I really like B, Dave. I like B, Dave, and he'll pick A. And sometimes I'll say I like B, and he'll go, yeah, okay, let's go with B. So I don't know whether or not I influence his decisions or not. But
and the reason why I ask all this, and I think it's very important that people understand, is that you, the artist, have to do X, and you have to bring it to life, and you have to produce a quality product. But also, there's executive decisions being made on an editorial position because you're not writing the story. You're not dealing with the writer. You're not dealing with the company's image. Xenoscope, for those who don't know and aren't Xenoscope fans, they're becoming more of a centered universe world. And so while covers in particular, and especially a cover C, might not have an impact, it could affect the universe if there's something wrong with cover C that doesn't fit the overall somehow connected to the universe theme, and so it gets very tricky because Xenoscope knows their demographic, and if a cover C hits 90% women and only 10% men, and the audience is 70-30 men versus women, that creates a problem of sale point. And so there's a lot of complicated stuff that goes on.
I have a lot of girls that like the covers that I do for Xenoscope. I really do. It's not shocking, but it's like you're doing something right when the girls dig it too. So,
but I think that goes to the point.
I feel that it's not gratuitous that in that sense.
Yeah, I think it gets very interesting when you start really understanding how companies work, and then you have to submit ideas, and you have to do work before they approve a cover, and then you get to run with the cover, and then also. I'm sure it happens is that they're like, hey, could you make her ass a little bigger or her boobs a little bigger or smaller or things like that? Because that's also a whole nother ballgame. Or could just shift her around a little bit. Or, we want to see Robin Hood's eye, for instance. It sometimes happens too. And, you got to go back in. And I think that's what people don't understand when covers are being built is it's not, here you go, on to the next one. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of notes. There can be a lot of feedback, and it's complicated.
Believe it or not, the only notes that I've ever gotten from Dave are to thin them out. Sometimes I draw them a little thick, the girls, and he needs them. He needs their waists and their rib cages to be a little thinner. Other than that, I haven't really gotten a lot of notes at all. What?
I was going to say, so he wants Victoria's Secret models on his covers.
Yeah. Well, Xenoscope they have a type, they have a type and a house style. And I get that. That's why I don't color my own stuff, because my coloring, my painting doesn't fit their house style. And they have a very J. Scott Campbell anatomy for their characters. And I get that. And sometimes I go a little too Frazetta. So they ask me to thin them out a little bit. And I understand that. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it either. If I could date a centerfold, I would absolutely date a centerfold. I'm just saying. If a Xenoscope girl was real, and if a bunch of women walked into my house right now looking like a Xenoscope cover, I'm not going to complain. Hell, I might call Dave up, So there you go on that front. But this is another one that's also in previews that came out today.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It's up. It's up on Midtown Comics and previews.
Is it?
It's kosher. It's kosher.
Okay. Because I believe it or not, I do not get notified when these come out. I wait a few weeks, a few months, and then I just kind of do a little Google and see if the book's out yet.
Honestly, what you should just do is go on Midtown Comics and go to their preview list. Usually January 20th to about January 25th is when all previews come out for like either March or April. And this is how I know everybody's covers are coming out, because I'm like, oh, snap, this is coming out in 2 months. So what's the story behind this? Because this is probably the first time you're talking about this book, and I'm not too sure if Xenoscope's going to love or hate us, but I love this cover.
I don't have a clue. I kid you not. This character. Oh,
not even the character, just even how this thing is made, because this thing is immaculate. It's beautiful in so many ways. And just like the fact that her dress is a little bit ripped, and then like she's got like it's sort of flowing in the wind, and it's a bit tattered. I mean,
she's a very little used character. He literally only had 2 little panels of reference that he sent me, and he says, "I'm sorry, this is all we have. We don't have anything other than this." So that's all I had to go on.
Because I love this cover. I just think this cover is awesome. Like, this is like essential pinup work to me, and that's what I love about this cover, is that it's no like. So there's no fluff in this cover. There's nothing of that. Like, I kind of want to just like hang this up on my walls in art print more than anything else, because it's just so like yummy. Like, I don't know how to explain that any other way. Like, it's just such an awesome cover, and it just looks so clean. Like that's like more than like the other things that I showed. This thing just looks so clean, and it just looks so like this is what bad girl art and pinup art should be. This is the definition of it.
She's in the Oz Annual. I had to look. She's in the Oz Annual, and you know what? I can look real quick.
No, I don't. We don't need to look it up, man. This thing just looks awesome from an artistic standpoint, and this is what like Xenoscope.
I can't even remember the name of the character.
This is what makes me love Xenoscope. This cover, because this is like the bad girl art style that I feel like Xenoscope brought back. That Metcalf started, where this is just so nice, and it's also the idea that it's not nudity, but it's a bad girl art cover, and that's what I love about this cover. And the fact that it's Oz, the fact that to me has no impact on it. Like, I just like looking at this cover. It's gonna be fun to share this cover when I buy it on Instagram.
Her name is Ozma.
Well, it's a fucking hot Ozma, I could tell you that.
I was happy. I didn't know what it was going to look like when Sanju colored it. I knew that it was gonna be hot, but I didn't know that. Wow, he killed it. Sanju really knocked that one out. That is awesome.
Because it's also the idea that, just looking at this cover, it's also the background where it's right up top, and then it's almost like graffiti, sort of like spray painted, and it looks like almost like a pastel, sort of like, I don't want to say lazy, but very free flowing and very, just sort of spray painted on.
It looks like a butterfly behind her.
Yeah, and it looked, but it doesn't overpower her, where it's such a light background where she just stands out.
Well, it makes her pop, and that's Sanju. I didn't do that when I gave him when I turned this cover in. It had no background at all, and he really did a really great job on that. That's awesome.
And so I just love it, and it's on previews, guys. So you can go buy this one right now. And then now I want to get into the fun stuff of Xenoscope that I want to talk about and that you've done. And obviously this is from, I think, October, and maybe even possibly from December, some of them. But what Xenoscope did, I'm going to give some background, and I kind of tipped my hat a little bit, is that they had an advent box where for 13 days you got a bunch of really cool stuff, different covers, some art prints, maybe some trading cards. And it was like a 13-day, you open stuff up box for about $200, maybe $175. And in it was sketch covers by all these artists. And you did a bunch of them. I think you did 40 of them.
Yeah.
And so these are just some of them. And I actually asked in the Xenoscope group who has them, so that we could actually share me some pictures so we could actually talk about it. So what was it like actually being invited into doing this, for starters?
Well, all honesty, I loathe doing sketch covers. There's nothing I hate more than drawing a sketch cover. And
why? So this is what now we got to talk about. Why do you hate sketch covers and drawing them? I'm so curious now.
You have no control of the paper. You have collectors that you don't know if they're going to get it graded. You don't know if they're going to be upset if there's some smudges or some creases or a bend, or because, you're doing art on it. It's not like you're in a clean room, with rubber gloves. And so just the whole responsibility of doing them, and then just drawing on that little tiny cover, because I'm an old guy. I'm not young. I got like 3 different pairs of glasses to wear just to get me through the day. Okay. And when you need me to draw on something, this is all the space I got. That's just forget about it. I can't do it.
So let me ask you a question now, because I love getting commissions at cons.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like finding my favorite artist and I'm saying, hey, here's my idea. Here's what I want. I'm getting it graded, but it's a personal book and I just want to preserve it and airtight it. And I tell my big person I want, so it's not a random sketch. And so, I would imagine, like, I went to Elias Chazu's, and I told him exactly what I wanted. And I think he enjoys doing commissions. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I never asked him. But Elias.
Okay.
I want to say is how you say his last name. And I love his artwork. He's like my favorite artist from Xenoscope.
But I thought I was your favorite artist.
You're number 2. I'm sorry. It's a close second, guys.
All right. As he holds up 3 fingers. It's a close second.
No, I held up 2.
Okay, all right.
I could hold up this one.
You're number 1. You're number 1.
But this is my whole thing, is that I would imagine this process was a lot easier because you just had to draw 40 of them randomly, and you don't get to see the person and their reaction, because people are going to hate it regardless. When you're doing it and somebody saying, hey, I'm commissioning you to do it, I think the pressure is a lot higher.
Yeah, these were no pressure. That's one of the reasons that I did them, because it was no pressure. It was like I drew them, I inked them out real quick, and then I sent Dave photos of them, and he approved them all. The only thing they asked were characters that were in the books that were Halloween themed. So each one I did was of a different character, and they were, Halloween themed. Put a pumpkin, put a hat, costumes, a lot of costumes, and you just had to make sure that you weren't drawing the same character over again in the same position, just in a different costume, because there's still pride, you don't want it to be a hot mess going, hey, that looks just like what I got. Yes, nobody wants that.
Yeah, and even go into showing some of this stuff, because obviously it's Halloween. This is one of them. Obviously, it's on a Robin Hood, sketch cover.
Yeah, but it's Crest.
That's a cool one, and I like that one. And then you also did this one, and I like this one a lot because I like the tie on it. I think that's a fun one right there. And I also like the boo in it because that's always just fun, and I find a lot of this stuff just to be fun. And then we get into something like this, and getting arrested could be fun with her, but that's not the point. And then this is straight out of eBass. So what's the story behind this one? Because this is a straight out of eBass. It's a New York Comic Con sketch cover. Obviously, it says it up top, and
I've never really done like a pure ass shot. That's about as far as I've gotten with it. And it was just an interesting pose. And I do like side view, and sometimes side view doesn't always make for the best cover. But when you're doing something like a sketch cover like this, you can kind of get away with it. And so I just really twisted that pose and then just added them pumpkins behind it.
Because I really like this one, and I think it's just
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, and what I like about this, and whoever got this, I mean, this is like really legitimately straight out of the Church of Ebass, because that's what this is, very much like an Ebass cover, and that's what's super cool about it, is that this is my favorite cover out of the sketch covers that I've seen that were posted up in the Xenoscope group, and I love it. I think it's great, and so obviously that's my favorite one out of the bunch. And then obviously we get into some more Karis, and this is cool, and I like the little grave, in the background, and that's a nice touch as well.
That's Belle. Every one of them, I put one little thing, and like on her, you see the daggers across her thigh.
Mm-hmm.
That's Belle.
I thought that was definitely Karis. Clearly, I mean, my Xenoscope card were both. Clearly.
We get that stamp for you. You get a free haircut when we're done.
And this is fun too, because obviously it's to watch here, and I'm not going to make any more statements because I don't know any of these characters. Clearly,
that's Hell Witch is a fairy. I'll tell you what they are. Go ahead, it's okay. Because he just sent me a pile of books. There's no rhyme or reason behind the books. It's almost like they are just emptying the warehouse out of sketch cover books.
They probably ran out of ideas. They're like, we don't know what to do for covers anymore, and we have this really cool product idea. Let's just get a bunch of artists to do a bunch of sketch covers and see what happens, because people like this stuff. And
somebody did 100 of them.
Yeah, they're just some messed up people.
That's Van Helsing.
Yeah, that has to be Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And obviously this is
Hell Witch again. She's my favorite to draw.
So yeah, so and then that's all the sketch covers. But like obviously you don't like doing sketch covers. I love sketch covers, but I wasn't a big fan of the Advent box just because it was a bit pricey and money sometimes tight. And I appreciate what Xenoscope does, and it's a cool item, but I'm also in the camp that I want to get my own commissions, if that makes sense. I find the process of me building out a cover something that I want to build out versus getting something random. Where if I see you at a con, I kind of want to say, hey, this is my idea. What do you think?
Well, a lot of people, they have big ideas, and big ideas go great on big paper. And so I do a lot of commissions, and a lot of my commissions are 11 by 17, and I can fit a lot on the page. I can fit everyone's ideas. I mean, I've had people ask me to do a sketch cover, and literally the words were, I want cover quality art on it. And it's like, you do know this is like drawn on a postcard, right? And So
what I want when I ask for a commission is I want a bust shot. So I want her from the waist up, and I want her where I want, which is I think the appropriate size in a lot of ways for a cover. I don't want any background. I just want the girl standing up, and I want a particular style. So Chazus has a character that he did called Firefighter Sexy Samantha for Xenoscope, where the cover is she's behind the Flatiron building, and she's got firefighter straps over her breasts, holding up her firefighter pants, and all you see is a pink thong that's sort of a little bit above like the side of it, and it's essentially a bust shot. So when I asked him to do a commission, I said, I just want that girl, just Van Helsing instead, which I think makes 100% sense on a cover, because that's how you get a good idea. It's not a big idea. It's a very basic idea. That's just sexy as fuck, which is what I want.
The basics and simple are the best. It's the easiest for me, and it's the best. And that cover that you just described years ago, I did a cover almost like that for Avatar, for Crossed. It's a girl in a fire hat with just the straps covering her boobs with an axe. The guy behind her is flaming on fire, but I mean, the boobs.
Yeah, no. And this is what I think people don't understand, and I'm very curious about this, is that, so I understand how to book a cover, where I understand that if you make a cover chaotic, you're going to fuck up a cover. A cover has to be busy enough, but it can't be overly busy. And the way I view things is that if I'm trying to sell a sexy cover, it needs to highlight the girl, and then the background needs to make her pop off in a lot of ways. And especially if it's like a bust shot or it's just like a full pinup shot. And I think too many people when they're booking commissions are just they want the whole thing in the kitchen sink, and they don't understand that if you simplify your idea and focus on 2 or 3 elements, you're gonna have a better cover.
Well, that's your view is a very Marvel view. For the longest time, Marvel was very centered on single character being highlighted with minimal background. Okay, maybe something dynamic, maybe something that was heroic looking. Whereas DC was the more chaotic, how many characters in the Justice League can we fit on one cover? Doing 10 different things. And that was their style. That's how you can tell the difference between the two companies. And that's I've always leaned towards the Marvel style of doing covers.
Yeah, I think it's much better, and I don't like chaotic covers. And I think it's a real issue where you're trying.
I mean, art is subjective,
No. I mean, people can buy whatever they want to buy. I am fine with whatever people want to buy. It's your money. It's not my money. But when I'm looking at a cover and I'm looking at, in particular, Bad Girl art, which is what Xenoscope does, and a lot of your covers play in that sector. And we're going to leave Xenoscope in a minute or two here to talk about some other stuff that you've done, because I do like your other work outside of Xenoscope. But it's this idea that, when I look at Bad Girl art, I want to see the girl. I want to see a sexy girl cover, and I want it to be less chaotic.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I want the girl to be the center of it. I don't want it to be a sexy girl and then 13 guys around her and every enjoy your eye at every single point. The whole point is that I want to focus on her.
You know who gets those notes the best? Both sides. They have enough in the background to make everything interesting, and the focus is on the main character. It's on the girl, and that's Jay Anacleto. Jay Anacleto's covers are awesome for Xenoscope.
Oh, he's great, and his are good too. Of Xenoscope, I mean, you can book him for a cover. Apparently, he's open to doing covers for other companies, and it's kind of a cool thing. I'm just saying.
Hey, doesn't he do some Dynamite, Red Sonja, and some? Not Red Sonja. What's that chick from Mars?
Oh,
John Carter. I can never say her name.
Thorne, I want to say, or Deja Thorne, or Deja Thorne, or something.
Yeah. I think he's done a couple of those.
Yeah, no. I think he's done a couple of those, and then I think he has his own series with Image.
Does he?
I think he did something for Image, or he might have done like a one shot for Image that he did.
Interiors too, or just the covers?
I think he might have done the interiors for it. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I know he did the cover, and I'm not too sure if he might have done like it, but it's a one shot. It's a little bit different. You're doing a one shot versus a whole series. But I think he might have done some of the interiors on it, and it's kind of cool. And God bless him.
Out of the Philippines?
I have no idea where he's from.
I think he might be. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. I just my guess.
And obviously, before we leave Xenoscope, because Xenoscope is the land of Bad Girl art, obviously. And
you mean it's not Coffin Comics?
or Dynamite, for that matter, because Dynamite goes Bad Girl too sometimes. And we're going to talk about your Dynamite cover in a second here. But obviously, we were speaking before we went live, and I figured we're just going to continue the conversation. So I don't sell nude covers on eBay because eBay has suspended people's accounts for it. And I love nudity. Don't get me wrong. I think nudity is great. And I know that you've done some nudity work, and it's very complicated because it changes the way I function. And it's such a weird dynamic.
Makes you walk funny, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it does. And on that note, everybody, have a good night. I'm out.
It's gonna limp out, huh?
I'm just gonna take a lap. I would walk my dog, but she's sleeping, and I don't want to disturb her sleep. And as long as she's not barking during the middle of an interview, we're good. So, but I'm curious how you feel about that, because that changes it as like selling books and making money with books and all sorts of stuff.
Certain people, I'll do it. But for the most part, I turn it down. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not ashamed to draw it, but working for Avatar Press, I've drawn enough. Crazy.
So, let me ask a question about this, because the way I see it is that I find that with Xenoscope, they have a Z-rated and then they have a regular. Mm-hmm. And I like the regular covers for a few reasons. A, it's cheaper than the Z-rated, which is $100, $150 versus a $20 book.
Really?
Yeah. So it's 5 times the normal price for a lot of books, or it's 4 times the normal price. And I don't want to drop $100 on a book, because it's the idea that it's a lot of capital, especially if I'm selling it. And I feel like the gain isn't there, where I could sell a $20 book for $60, $50, $60. A $100 book is about $180. So the pound for pound rate of return, it's a 3X on a 20. It is $80. It's not a 3X. It's a 0.8 profit return on a Z-rated book. Now there's more money, where that 0.8 on 100 is bigger than on the 20, but the 3X pound for pound beats the $100 book if you were to find the right number. So if I was to sell 5 $20 books at $60 a pop, I'm going to make more money than selling one $100 book, because it's just the way it works. And also eBay's cracking down. And so I'm going to be building out a comic company, and I don't want to do nude books, because how do people say, hey, I find value and then I want to flip them up on eBay, and their account gets suspended? And that's just not a place I can sell my book, which is where the investor side of value is sort of perceived. And it creates a whole problem for me, because on the investing side, it puts the business at risk. And then when you can't get rid of a book, or it's harder to sell it, that lowers value by nature.
Well, I have a question for you on that, though. I don't know if you can answer it or not, but if you've sold on eBay for an extended period of time, do you feel that you've developed an audience, that you actually have a pool of individuals that you sell to, or do you feel like you're reaching more people on eBay? Because if you feel that maybe you have a pool, maybe instead of selling on eBay, maybe you could sell.
So it's twofold for me, because I sell to a certain of the same customers, but I also sell to new customers, and I have one-off sales. So it's both for me, and then also the reason why I sell on eBay versus selling directly on PayPal, because I can go in a Facebook group and list an item. Yeah. I sell on eBay because eBay takes 13%, but they give me protection. And that's the difference, because you know what happens? Let's say a book gets lost. eBay covers me minus like a $10 fee. So when you're selling a $400 book, I'm protected. And so that's why I sell on eBay, because the difference is that if there's a claim, there's a dispute. When you're selling, in a year, 700 items, statistically, you're going to have maybe 10 claims against you. And eBay covers me 9 out of those 10 claims. So there's a reason why I sell on eBay versus selling directly, because I could send you an invoice on PayPal for a comic if you wanted to buy a comic off of me, but there's no protection at that point. And even if PayPal does have protection, their protection is not protection.
And that's the same as going to the post office and putting insurance on it?
So I mean, you could put insurance on it, but then what happens is, what if the book arrives, but then the buyer says, this isn't the right book, or you advertise the book wrong, then PayPal sides with them, and then the post office is not. So the protection sometimes is not on the postage, but it's on, did I describe the item correctly?
What's the difference whether or not PayPal rules against you versus eBay ruling against you? Or is there somewhere where eBay's more seller friendly?
eBay is a lot more seller friendly, and eBay has customer service better than PayPal does.
Okay.
And so because PayPal is taking less money than it, and also eBay protects their sellers a lot better than PayPal does. And so as a business, for me, exchanging money, PayPal's great because I love, I send people money and I send people invoices. People send me invoices. My sponsorships send me all that stuff. And so all that stuff is great for PayPal. But if I'm selling a comic book, it's not so wonderful because I just feel protected on eBay. And I feel like if there's a problem, eBay is going to have my back. And that's a big issue for me at the very least. So that's how I feel, where I'm reaching both. And then obviously at some point I'm going to have a Shopify store, which is just a whole different ball game. And then if you're doing that, you can sell as many new books as you want.
I get it.
Even still, you have to be careful because there are laws and regulations, and there's a whole bunch of shit that can go wrong with that.
Yeah.
And so, this is why I don't want to deal with nude books, because it's not that I don't have a problem with nudity. I have no problem with nudity. It's economics where $100 for a book is a lot of money.
Return on investment. I get it.
And then also, I don't want lawsuits, litigation, claims against me. That's my dog barking and all sorts of stuff. I'm going to let her out really quickly. But yeah, that's kind of what I don't want. So yeah, you can keep talking, everybody. She's just excited about me not selling nude books.
She just doesn't want to shit on the floor.
That too. I'm still here. So yeah, that's how I feel about just nude books. And it's also the idea that I just don't want to get banned from eBay. And because I built a business and my business is producing me like $1,200 every single month.
Right. I mean, I get it. There's a market for it, but you know what? That doesn't, just because there's a market for it doesn't mean I have to do it. I mean, like when Dan asked me to do it, I was like, sure, I'll do it. No problem. And then, you know what? There was an extra fee involved in the cover for me to do it. And then I've had other Kickstarter companies ask me to do it, and I've flat out refused. I just won't do it.
So let's talk about Karma, because I don't know much about Karma. I know it's on it's a Dynamite produced thing. I don't know if it's going to be put into Diamond at some point, but I know they're doing a Kickstarter. They're over $30,000.
From what I understand, yes, it will be, but not right away.
And I know that obviously I had Tom Hutchinson on, and he's getting a book that's coming out with Dynamite, and I think it's either going to be the next one or maybe in March, because Dynamite's now doing a lot of stuff on Kickstarter. And so what is it about, and even what was it like getting involved? And obviously Dan Wickline is a Xenoscope writer, and he does a lot of work. And what was it like even just being part of that project?
Well, I had worked with Dan back when we were both at Avatar Press. He had a story. He had an 8-page story that ran for eight issues that was in the back of Dan Hickman's God is Dead series that was published by Avatar. And I did the interiors. I did the painted interiors for Dan. And so I got to know him through that. And then we kind of both went our separate ways from Avatar. And he reached out to me one day and asked me if I was interested in doing a cover for a graphic novel that he was doing. At the time, I didn't really know that it was Dynamite. I didn't have any clue. I thought it was maybe something that Dan was doing on his own. And then he looped me in with an editor, and we just went from there. They asked me what my rate was. They asked to see a couple of samples, a couple of rough ideas from some of the reference that they gave me. And it was pretty cut and dry, After I had drawn the original, they asked me if I had a colorist that I had wanted to color it. And I told them I didn't, at the time, I didn't really have a preference. I figured once I found out it was Dynamite, I figured they had someone in-house that would do it. And then Dan approached me right after that, asked me if I wanted to do maybe a naughty version too.
So let's talk about that too, because obviously this looks like a great cover, and then the naughty book is obviously out there, and people like regular covers, people like naughty covers. Obviously, there's a different price for the regular versus the naughty, I think, on this Kickstarter. And so what has that been like? Because obviously there's a market for it, and also people have a choice. And my understanding of Karma, when I read briefly about it, is that it's an erotic graphic novel.
Yep.
And it's sort of about a photographer who's inside looking to modeling. It's a very interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense to have naughty covers with this book. I mean, if you're going to deal with the inner workings of modeling and some crazy shit going on and erotica, you're going to have a naughty cover. But what was that like? Because it actually makes sense, and it's not nudity for the sake of nudity.
Well, when I drew the 8 pages for Dan for Avatar, they were X-rated pages. So, I knew what I was getting into. There's quite a bit inside the book that just some of the things that they've previewed with, there's censor bars and stuff that it looks like it's graphic. Dan doesn't shy away from, tab A, slot B. He's all for it. So
give me 1 second, everybody. While I go get my dog from killing everybody and waking up the entire neighborhood.
She's protecting you, man.
Give me 1 second, everybody. While we're going to continue to talk about, if there was ever time for a pre-roll ad for me to have in my show, this would be it. But I don't have one. So if you have an ad you'd like to say, this is the perfect time.
Is there anybody watching?
There's nobody watching, but they'll watch on replay.
All right, because, they could make a comment and I could answer it. But since there's nobody there, it's just us. Who are you telling then that you're going to go away for?
I mean, we're live, so I
don't have to. Oh, Jesus to death.
I tried. My dog doesn't want to come in.
Where are you at?
I don't know. My dog doesn't want to come in. It's Bethel, Connecticut. She's having a fit, and she doesn't want to come in. So
is it like 20 degrees out there? How cold is it?
I have no idea how cold it is, and she doesn't want to come in. And I'm checking the temperature, and she's having a barking fit. Everybody, so I'm checking the temperature, and I tried.
It's a cat or a squirrel. It's always a cat or a squirrel, always.
It's 18 degrees out, and she doesn't want to come inside. And she's like barking and running around. And I'm looking in when she wants to come in. She'll come in. But I tried calling her. She doesn't want to come in, guys. I don't want to abuse my animal. It's I want her to be warm. She must have heard something. She either hears another dog, and she's having a fit, and I don't really know what's going on, or she's trying to find a place to go to the bathroom and she realizes that it's freezing outside. So I don't really know what's going on, but when she comes back, I'll let her in. I just don't want to be yelled at, but there's only so much I can do. But yeah. Even talking about Karma though, that's way more interesting than my dog having a barking fit. And I'm just making sure that when I see her, I have the lights on, so hopefully she'll come in soon, everybody. But yeah. I mean, what is that entire thing like, though? Because obviously getting into Dynamite and doing work for Dynamite is very cool. And having things published and being part of a Kickstarter that's also doing really well, and it also selling. Because before we went live, we were talking a little bit about this. What is that like for you? Because the new
gratifying. It's gratifying. No artist wants to do a cover and then it be the one that no one gets. It's always great to know that your cover is one that people are choosing. It's not like it's on the shelf and they don't have a choice. I mean, they're actually choosing, I want this cover. So it's gratifying. It makes you happy. It really does, especially when the book is doing well.
And also it's the idea that Kickstarter is a different beast completely.
Oh, yeah.
A comic shop or previews. or anything like that where there's a million books. People have to actually go find something on Kickstarter. And people who back Kickstarters also have a different mentality. They're also a little bit more collector conscious. And they're also saying, I'm willing to spend X amount of money on a particular item. And I'm willing to spend, because I think your cover and a few other people's covers are more expensive than the cover A's in this entire Karma Kickstarter. And so they're willing to spend more money, I think, for a particular cover. And what is that like? Because now they're actually making an even further conscious choice because they find more value in what you're doing.
It's the like the A covers or the #1 covers or the whatever they've used for the promo, those are always your #1 sellers. So when you have one that's further down, or the naughty one or the variant one, and it does well, you can take a lot of pride in knowing that people like your work, and you get new fans. People look at your art. I get a lot of people that are like, "Oh, you're the guy that did that? Oh, you did that?" And so, it helps that outreach. When you're not drawn for Marvel or DC, things like this where your cover does well, it's important. It's important for you because it expands your fan base quite a bit.
And also even talking about the idea, because I don't know how many covers you've done for Kickstarters per se, and I don't know if this is your first or it's I'm not exactly sure. Is this your first cover that you've done for a Kickstarter, or is it you've done some other stuff for Kickstarter, right? Because you've done some Lady Death stuff too, right?
You know what? None of my Lady Death covers were ever in any of the Kickstarters. The closest I got to one of the Kickstarters was one of my Betty Page covers. Lady Death, Betty Page mishmashes was I think it was a postcard that they offered as a stretch goal. But yeah, I never got all my covers for Lady Death were always in his shop covers.
And so, but I think you've done some stuff for Kickstarters before.
Yeah. Evolutionize, the Harpies, POM, Seeing Red. There was a guy I did probably about 7 or 8 covers for him easy, and they were all Kickstarter.
And so it's very different. And so obviously you have some experience with Kickstarter, and you weren't running those Kickstarters yourself per se. And I'm just looking for my dog, everybody, when everybody sees this. But it's this idea that it's a different audience. And when you're not, as you stated, working for Marvel, DC, or, Image or any big company, obviously Kickstarter is a whole new landscape for comics and opens up a lot of opportunity. And what is that like for you, that people want to book you for a Kickstarter, that they want you or they want some of your art for a Kickstarter, and that it's doing well, and that, obviously even a company like Dynamite's now on Kickstarter, and now there's all these, what would I call, and I'm utilizing it in a very nice term, is that if DC, Marvel, and Image are the upper tier, Dark Horse, Xenoscope, IDW, Boom Studios, they're sort of a secondary tier, and there's third and fourth tiers, but then there's the entire independent scene, which is a lot on Kickstarter. Yeah. And some of these independent companies are just as good on an art level and even, monetarily, pound for pound.
The Kickstarters allow the independent companies to not have to compete against Marvel and DC. You're not in a price guide. You're not in previews. You're not, so you get to stand on your own merit. You're not just looking at a bunch of numbers going, gee, where's my book? Where's my book? How many did I sell? And then you're way at the bottom of the list. They only go to the top 300 anyway. So if I remember when I first started out doing comics, I did Blood Rain comics. I did the covers for Blood Rain, which was from the video game. And, it was fun to go look and see where you stood against all the other guys. But when, the best that you do is only like maybe 4,000 books versus Batman doing, 140,000.
Let's even talk about that, because obviously, you have a very interesting wide range of things that you've done in comics, where you were, I guess, quote unquote, the traditional path. And then you've gone all the way through things like Xenoscope and all the way through a bunch of other companies, and obviously doing Lady Death, which is a very indie but also very well respected title that does a lot of money on Kickstarter and in shops and exclusives and a variety of other things.
He should teach a class. How to do Kickstarter. That guy, he does a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, Brian Pulido, wouldn't be where he is without Kickstarter. In which that he needs Kickstarter, because you don't do $300,000 or $400,000 in diamond. To do that in that. And there's my dog. She's back, everybody.
Yay!
And she's super excited to come back. We're gonna get to that in 1 second. Wonderful. My dog's back in the house, everybody. You don't need to worry about her being cold. She's sort of running around as she's freezing her ass off, but that's okay. Might be able to hear her in the thing. Sorry about that, everybody. It's a 20-minute tangent. We all should have just went outside and looked at my dog outside going ballistic. It probably would have been a massive interlude. But what has that been like for you? Because you've seen everything in comics, including now the new generation, which is the Kickstarter generation.
I like the Kickstarter generation. It gives the smaller guy. I've never been a big two guy. I've liked the big two characters. I've never worked for them. I've come close. I almost got hired in at Marvel, almost, but horseshoes and hand grenades, right? I do know that Marvel actually used some of my art at one point without compensating me or letting me know. That was a lot of fun, but it gives the independent guys, people with real ideas that write really good stories. That's not, it's something that they want to do. It's not something that, there's not a certain group of people that they want to write for. It gives those guys a voice, and it gives them a chance to be monetarily successful at it, because you can reach people worldwide. I mean, Pulido is so successful because he has fans worldwide. He has fans in France. I do commissions for guys in France, in Europe, in England. He's got people in Australia. Shit, he flew a guy in from Australia who's like the #1 Lady Death fan. So it gives you a worldwide reach with the internet. It's just not something that you got to find at a local comic shop. That maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. It just increases everything.
It's also
levels the playing field.
It's also very interesting because a lot more shops now are carrying indie titles. There's a shop down in Florida called The Collective, and they carry indie titles. And I'm very interested, and I've made money on indie titles where, every once in a while on a Kickstarter, I buy a retail package of 10 books, for instance. And maybe those books are $4 a piece, and then maybe they sell for $12, $15. And certain indie titles I can make real money on. And, I'm not making it as an investment, but I'm looking to buy a book at a wholesale price. So if it's a $20 book in a shop and it's variant, I'm looking to buy it at 10 so that I make maybe $5 on it in profit. And, that's something that I'm looking into, and I'm working on a deal with somebody's Kickstarter right now, or trying to, where there's Steph Wilson covers that I want. And I would like to buy 10 of them at $10 a piece, or around that price range, or even lower, because I can sell them for 20. And we're having a conversation, and I'm very honest, where I'm like, hey, well, how many are you printing these books? Because if you're printing 500 of them, that lowers the value, but it's also this idea that there's real money for indie now. And it's very, very, very cool. And so obviously as a business, I'm seeing massive changes. And I'm seeing that if I don't own a comic store, I'm an online comic book guy. Because why do I want to pay rent when I could legitimately put an entire, cart of indie books in my basement and move and sell it out of there versus selling in a shop? And so that's how I view it. But I think there's real opportunity for people to have ideas, because a guy like Steph Wilson, he's a great artist, but I don't think mainstream could handle him the way.
No, his style's too extreme for that.
And I think mainstream should put him on a DC cover. Come on, tell me you don't want you have to put parameters on it. But if DC had all these sexy sort of bad girl covers, I think DC sales would destroy Marvel. I think they'd make bank, and maybe you got to black, board them and black polybag them, but who cares because they'll sell.
It all depends if do they knuckle under to the Twitter crowd? That's that's what it all comes down to, is who's not gonna like it. They don't look at who's gonna like it, they look at who's not gonna like it, and that's what steers their decisions then on what to do. So I mean, it's a business. They want to make as much money as they can, but
the only person that DC needs to care about is their shareholders. That's really it. DC Comics is a publicly traded company owned by AT&T. So in reality, the only people DC should actually care about, and that they actually have a fiduciary responsibility to, is returning capital to their shareholders and their parent company, AT&T. So at the end of the day, it really shouldn't matter what Twitter says if you're returning.
Twitter is too strong in today's economy. The fear of the Twitter blowback is too strong. No one wants to get labeled on Twitter. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. I'm not going to go further on it, okay? I have lots of opinions, but I keep them to myself. But my very first Kickstarter cover was for Yuli's Vision, Jacob Stern. He was the very first person that came.
I'm showing him some business.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has Fairy Metal as a company.
Yeah.
And I just ordered a metal card as a test subject. I have some metal cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect segue where this is my metal card for my Kickstarter. It's my friend DJ Croft and Pop Anime Comics, which is my logo over there. And I'm printing 121 of those. And Jacob Stern with Fairy Metal, they do metal cards. And metal cards are relatively cheap. And
are they?
I'm not going to tell you. Well, we're going to talk.
Cheap to buy or cheap to make?
Oh, they're cheap to make. Oh, but I'm not going to tell you on live. I'm not going to tell you on live because then everybody's not going to buy it and they're just going to steal my freaking thing. Like, I want to make some money here. Like, I'm not going to explain how cheap they are. Like, metal cards are dirt cheap.
Are they? I'm looking for my cover now. You're killing me.
I bet you I could find it first.
My Yuli's Vision cover?
It's probably up on Fairy Metal's website. They have a bunch of them up there.
I don't know, though. It was a long time ago.
So they have a few of them up there. They have let's see what they got. They got I'm looking it up right now because they got a bunch of covers up there. It's great. So I'm just looking it up and
I win. It's a contest.
That's fine. You could win all you want. I don't really care. It's all right.
I win the no prize. So that was the first cover. Here we go. That I did for Yuli's Vision. This was and he did something cool too. This is my initials are on it, like Polito does. It's a artist proof virgin cover, and he sent me 2 of them.
That's nice. Comps are important.
They are. Polito, he gets that right. The comp thing.
Yeah, no. It's very important that artists should get comps, at least a copy, if not a few copies.
But he does the artist thing where he does the artist proofs where he puts your initials on them. I don't know if you can see that. No, where are you at? But like right under my finger there, it says MD.
Let's see.
There we go.
I can make you bigger. I'll make you bigger.
Make me bigger. You can see it.
Give me 1 sec. I'm making you bigger here.
You can make me oldest.
I'm sorry.
Come on, I'm old, man.
Yeah. We can see it better now.
But yeah, see that MD?
Yeah.
See, and he puts that on all of the and that's the artist proof.
Yeah.
On the finger. And so, and that, he only prints a few of them. He makes them really rare, And so like this one here, this is the latest one I did. But, and the corner right there, it has my initials on it. Whoop, it made me big again. Okay, here we go. See it?
Yep.
Right there, MD. Ta-da. So, and that's how you know it's an artist proof. And there's like the hollow foil. He only prints 3 of them. They're so valuable, and they're so hard to find. And then he does the metal ones in the same way, and there's only 2 copies. He sends you two artist proof, and that's all there is. And
so I'm going to be building out a variant company, and a comic company that really is variant. I see the writing on the wall. It's not that hard to understand with Kickstarter that there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm not going to tell you what my entire project is, and because it's still in the works, but I'm definitely smart enough to know that sending artists comps, and I'm going to say to my artists, I'm going to say, look, sell it for more than the Kickstarter. That's the only caveat, because I want the books to be having more value after they leave Kickstarter, because that's beneficial to a company. Yep. One of the best things for Xenoscope and a variety of other companies is that when their books go for more money on eBay, if they sell me a book for $20 and in 3 months it's going for $60 on eBay, that means that if they have another 250 or 300 print run, that means that people are going to want to buy it, because there's a good chance it's going to go for more money than what they bought it at. And that's very important. And it sounds messed up, but when you're dealing with variant companies, that's a big game changer. And so my goal is legitimately, if I'm producing a variant, I want to sell out of that variant quickly.
Yeah. But, the artist proofs, though, with the artist's initials on them, the cover artist initials, and you only do between 2 and 5 of them, that is, that's like an awesome deal for the artists, and as they're comped, that's sweet. And more companies should do that. And when I saw that Jacob had done that, when they sent me that, I was stoked to see that. I was happy.
I mean, I'm stoked for I like their shiny metal cards, and obviously I'm working with them, and I'm hoping they're going to do my thing. And I hope they're okay with having DJ on it, because and maybe DJ might have to sign a release, because I don't think they've done anything with cosplay and the type of design I want to throw out there. But I think it'll be okay, because it's not like nudity or anything like that. But if they need a release from DJ and me, that's fine. But yeah, no, I don't know much about Yule's vision. I just know that he's in a lot of Facebook groups, and when I asked a bunch of questions, he was on top of it. So yeah, I absolutely. But also, I'm looking to do metal cards, because metal cards are something that I like. And while people aren't necessarily backing it on my Kickstarter, there's a lot of application use, and it's a lot of product for me. So that's something that I appreciate as an individual of what I'm going for in my entire business, because merchandise is always helpful.
Kickstarter is driven by the stretch goals,
I mean, it's not even a stretch goal. It's a pledge level, my metal card. And it's even better, because I know people like metal cards, and I think once people see it on eBay, they're like, oh, this is really cool. This is actually good.
Now, with Karma, right, they're doing really well. And some of the stretch goals are just regular cards, not metal cards or hollow cards, just regular cards. And in the comments section, they seem to have a few people that have made it known that, I'll back this, but these cards, they're just not my deal. So
yeah, this is the thing. So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. So how many Kickstarters do you back as just as a fan versus a creator?
How many?
Yeah, like how many have you done? Just in general, just if any. It's not a knock on you.
No, I've never backed Kickstarter.
So one of the things is that I back Kickstarters for a variety of reasons. Let's say I have a friend, and I think my friend's book is okay, but he's been on my show 6 times. Mm-hmm. I owe him at least a $20 pledge once every year, mm-hmm. and maybe his book sucks, but it's just goodwill and it's good business. And I understand that. And I do that with people's Kickstarters. I'm not saying who, but I understand that it goes a long way, because then the person's going to be on my show 3 more times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just buying interviews in a different way. It's kind of like if somebody just threw me $100 on my Kickstarter, you think I'm not going to hit them up every single month for a year? Speak like, you want to talk about anything? How can I help you?
Yeah.
So I'm smart enough of buying goodwill and buying positions. Now, when I look at a Kickstarter, though, I'm saying book A, B, and C are all great stories. Now let's go look at the stretch goals. If you produce a metal card, I'm more likely to be in, because that actually means something to me. I don't give a damn about stickers. I don't care about stickers. Magnets are fun because magnets have applicable use for me, because I can actually use them on my refrigerator. If you give me a button, what the fuck do I need a button for? And I'm saying this very bluntly. I'm not a pin guy. Doesn't excite me. If you add to the book, that's great. I'm excited, because that's a good stretch goal. But you give me a bookmark, no thank you. If you give me an 11 by 17 art print at no additional shipping costs, I'm like, that's cool. I don't really need the art print, but I appreciate the gesture. And I appreciate the fact that you've changed your shipping and added $3 of shipping on your end to ensure that I get what I want. So
buttons and pins, I'm seeing pins becoming a thing, especially with anime characters. And a lot of the cosplay girls are putting pins of themselves out. But before that, pins and buttons were really popular with like your metal crowd. Any comic that catered towards a heavy metal crowd, especially like Lady Death, pins and buttons were big, because that was swag on your jacket, swag. It was something that you wore. And you believe it or not, at conventions, you see a lot of backpacks, and I see a lot of buttons.
This is my problem, is that I have enough tchotchkes that I want something more interesting. Send me a bottle opener. That is way more interesting, because it's actually applicable when I want to open up a beer. And that's my whole problem with Kickstarters and stretch goals, is I'm like, what are you doing? So I just backed a book that is giving us a cover gallery as an extra book, as a stretch goal. That's an awesome stretch goal. Like at this stage, or if you make a matted cover versus an unmatted cover, or you do an ash can, if you do like $50,000, for my Kickstarter, 1,000 is me coming into podcasting, which means the audio becomes, very much on the show becomes very transportable, and you can listen anywhere where you want to listen to, and you don't have to listen on Facebook or YouTube. And then if we reach, I think it's like 1,200 or 1,250, it then start a whole nother subsection of a show is coming out called comic book theater, or indie comic book theater. And that's a big deal, because now it's a subsequent show that has been reached because I can afford it. But my stretch goals are all digital. But if I'm to produce a physical book, I don't know what my stretch goals are going to be, because I'm like, what do people really want? At what stage does this become, because I don't want to send somebody junk. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain that.
I think after the first one, though, because doesn't everyone send a questionnaire out after the first Kickstarter, or after every Kickstarter?
So I get
that card, right?
Yeah. So it's a little tricky because I'm funding my podcast and it's not a comic. So I think the crowd is a little bit different on the podcast front than it is, because what I'm selling on my podcast is live reads, ad space. I'm selling guaranteed guest spots, because I get a lot of requests every year. And legitimately, it's unfortunate in my world where last year I got 250 guest requests and I only could do 172. And so I need a distinguishing factor to say, how do I get quality guests, and who gets to cut the line, and how do they get to cut the line? So when I'm going to be sending out my questionnaire after my Kickstarter, which I'm fully funded, everybody, I'm going to say, what do you need as far as media? What would help you get your project funded, so that when I run this again, I can actually deliver to you? And I'm going to ask a lot of questions in my questionnaire saying, how can I best serve you, your comic, and your project as far as a media producer? And that's what I'm trying to deliver in the podcasting, because it's a business to business.
Do you feel that your podcast is more centered towards the listeners or the guests? Are you looking to provide the listeners with something, or are you just looking to be a venue or an avenue for the creators?
I'm looking to basically provide a point of sale for somebody who has a Kickstarter. So somebody comes on, they got a Kickstarter going on. I think that let's talk about your book. Let's actually convince somebody to back your project and be interested. And then it gets pushed out and people find this stuff entertaining, but they're also learning about your project, because most people, don't know said project, right? I have Sanju Navagunai. Most people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a podcast reaches 2,000 people. 2,000 people just heard that interview, for instance, or 100 and 500 people heard something, and then I have, in a lot of ways, have helped to get people sales on their Kickstarter. And so all of a sudden, if you're listening to me and Chuck Pino, I've gotten Chuck some sales on his Kickstarter. So a listener is now getting something, they're like, oh man, that project sounds awesome. And then that guest is there because they're finding, media is complicated. Good media that is actively pushing, is a very hard component, because there's all these shows out there that they don't push it out. I push out my content unbelievably aggressive. And
you have a consistent viewership?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm doing about 200 to 500 plays on every episode, and on just Facebook and YouTube. Mm-hmm. And one of the things on average, and then one of the things, I'm not in a podcast format yet. And my other show does about 110 plays a day without any marketing. And so when this show comes into podcast format, without a doubt, it's going to be doing at least 50 to 60 views within probably the first 6 months a day, which is a lot, because that stuff starts stacking up. And then it's probably going to hit, 70, 80, probably about a year and a half in. So, I mean, I'm coming into this not as a kid. I have about 9 years of podcasting coming into this show. So I'm well aware of what I'm doing. So that's how I view it, is that, and there's a reason why I have sponsors outside of Kickstarter.
So you mean how many people then are going to hear me babble?
Probably in the Xenoscope community, probably like 90 to 100. And then in the indie comic world, probably maybe another 150. And really? Then on the podcast side, probably in the next 3 years, probably maybe 1,500 to 3,000, if not more. In the next. So, is
there an actual rating system for podcasts, or are you guys pretty much on your own?
There's viewership, there's data, there's analytics, and I mean that's me taking a guess estimate at it, but I can figure out where people tamper off, where people get in, and then also I'm now chopping up the interview and pushing it out on Instagram. That's what people don't understand, is that there's a lot of media being drawn into something where, I had Steph Wilson comment on a reel that I put up of, Trish and Mike Benningston's, Brink and Fetch Kickstarter that just came out, where he commented on a reel because we were talking about his cover. And so that's getting people interested in that project. And so it's a very interesting world, what's going on. And obviously, I don't want to go into this, and I'm sure I had a whole conversation about this last night on somebody's show, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, no, it's a very interesting world. But I like how I'm being interviewed now.
I was just going to ask you that. So how does it feel? Do you feel you're being interviewed, or you're interviewing me?
I don't even know. This entire thing just went straight downhill. Clearly, this is not what I intended.
Where's the covers? Where's the boobs? What happened?
Well, we have this.
That's the Avatar book.
We got that. We got this. I actually like this cover a lot.
Do you? Oh, I hate that cover. I do. That one I like. That one I hate.
I mean, why do you hate it? I don't get why you would hate this cover.
Oh, she just looks like a slinky bar whore. I just don't like it. But she was the villain. That was the character. And under her side there, that's where it looks like she's got like no rib cage. That's a black like brace that goes around her back, and it just the whole design of it just made me sick. So
this is interesting.
That's a Mike Wolford creation. That right there. That's Widow. He actually he created that character before his Avatar days, and then he convinced William to publish it with the War Goddess, and now he's self-publishing. Mike Wolford is, and he brought that character back. I just had someone ask me for a commission of one of his characters. Ragdoll is her name.
Yeah,
you should have him on. You should have Wolford on. He's a good talker.
I'm not opposed. It's getting fun, and then there's this one too that's cool, and all this stuff is like the Art Deco stuff you do, which is awesome in a lot of ways. That's not even bad girl art. That's just like a whole different style. That's just like a lost art in so many ways.
The editor and owner of Avatar Press was a big Alphonse Mucha fan. That and Patrick Nagel. So he loved for me to do the Art Deco and the Art Nouveau style covers.
And then there's this one which is cool, and then this is cool because this just reminds me of Aspen. Like this reminds me of like Michael Turner Aspen Soulfire. Mm-hmm. Like there's a Soulfire cover that looks so similar to this, and I love it. And then also one of my favorite characters from this anime called Rave Master has a snake bracelet up in her upper arm, and it's just super cool. And then she dies, and it's such a sad episode. So I like that. And then this is just fun too. Same
character's name is Pandora. It's that whole 90s bad girl books, the Tim Vigil, the Faust stuff, all that. There were some crazy books back there,
Yeah, no, see, they don't make it like this anymore. It's a shame. Like, all I want to do in comics is I just want to read stories that are uncensored, that they're not necessarily politically correct, but they're not unpolitically correct either. And it's just good stories where characters are actually acting like people, and that they're not necessarily set in reality and not worrying about cracking a few eggs every here and there. And maybe you step across over the line every once in a while, but then you step back and it's not a big deal. And I think that's what's lacking in comics, is that everything is so eggshelled out. It's just like there's no good stories anymore.
There's fences on each side, and you got to stay within the fences.
I mean, it's a problem, and this is why I have a hard time finding comics to read. I have a hard time finding books to back. And, as an investor, I'm a variant guy. So in an investing world, I am perfectly fine. There's more than enough room for me to make a lot of money, and I'm doing it. But as a reader, it's a real problem for me. And it's a problem in the anime world. It's a problem in like Netflix shows. And I'm at the stage where I'm just like, I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, and even in books, like I'm a big, Charles Bukowski fan, and like dirty realism is fucking dead, and it sucks.
What?
Dirty realism. So
dirty. You keep fading out. It garbles.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So dirty realism.
Dirty realism. Okay.
Like Charles Bukowski, like Postman or Post Office, and Ham and Rye or Ham on Rye, and women, and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like the good shit, and like that's dead, and it hasn't been active for years, and like there's no good dirty realism writer, and it's just a disaster, and it's like there's nothing even like that pushes the line anymore, I feel, and it sucks because I'm like, I've read all the good shit, and I don't know what to do now as a reader. Unless I have to become a writer to fix it. And maybe, if I was religious, this would be a sign from God.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff, though, in the comic world, a lot of that stuff has been pushed to Kickstarter. I mean, Avatar Press was always pigeonholed as gore porn. Rightfully so. Okay. They have a lot of big name writers write for them, but they have a lot of quick hire artists, not a lot of big name artists. A lot of artists cut their teeth at Avatar and then went on to bigger things. But
Uber, Kieran
Gillen.
I mean, he cut his teeth in Avatar, and he's a big guy in Marvel, from my understanding.
Yeah, because he was doing an Image book before that.
I mean,
Garth Ennis and Alan Moore. I did a book with Garth Ennis.
Yes, you did. And here's what it looks like.
Oh, not one of those covers, no. Those were special convention covers where they turned everything red and put paw prints all over my art.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's
okay. Well, me and Garth, we did a one-page for a book. It's an environment book. It's about a climate control book. It's a comic that was put out. It's been put out worldwide, and Garth and I did a one-page for it.
It's cool. There's all this like good stuff in the comic world, and like this is why I like Dynamite, where Dynamite is saying, fuck it, we're just going to do good stories at this point. And I like Uber. I enjoyed Uber. I'm Jewish, and I liked Uber because I thought Uber was brilliant. And it's a weird thing to say as a Jew, to say that. But I thought Uber was great. And Kanan White worked on the first 6 issues. And, no offense to anybody, but Kanan is a black guy. So, I mean, it's not to get too political, but if you have a Jewish guy and a black guy saying they enjoyed Uber and Kanan worked on Uber, I mean, it's not
written by a bald English guy.
Exactly. That's the whole point. It's like Uber's a great book. It's brilliant, and you've done a bunch of covers for Uber. There's nothing racist or hateful about Uber. There's nothing hateful about it. It is a different interpretation of history, but it's not picking a side. It's just telling it, and it's giving a whole different story, and then obviously the story evolved from there. And I think Kieran still sort of works on Uber in some fashion.
I think so. I think it's still kind of going. I think I was around maybe 50 issues. I don't know how. I think I counted them up one day. We did like 58 covers or something for Uber.
You did all of the like
propaganda poster.
Yeah, like the pinup and poster stuff and some of that stuff. And like I love it. I mean, we spoke about it in the last episode. Yeah. And I mean, it's really good. And like I enjoyed the first six issues of Uber. And Kanan's been on, and I love Kanan. Kanan is. Oh
yeah. Did you see the last piece he did online? He did the girl from Heavy Metal.
I did not see that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
The ones that rides the big pterodactyl looking bird there.
From
Heavy Metal magazine.
Yeah. From like the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't see that piece, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I love heavy metal. I'm a big heavy metal reader.
He did a fan art of that Heavy Metal actually posted on their site on Facebook.
Because I had Rusty Gilligan on, and Rusty did some stuff for heavy metal.
That sounds like a sex act.
What, Rusty?
Rusty Gilligan.
Yeah. Rusty's great though. Rusty's been doing trading cards. Rusty is comics. Rusty did a bunch of storyboard art. Rusty's great. But he did some stuff for heavy metal when he was like 16, I think. And
really?
Like the movie Heavy Metal. So like that's the good shit. And
yeah.
Rusty, like that was 3 hours. Rusty is fantastic. Rusty has a fucked up sense of humor too, which is great. It's like he has like the type of humor that I have, which is just dark and brooding, and it's great. But like I didn't see this Kanan White thing, but Kanan's another Xenoscope artist who's just underappreciated.
Yeah, he doesn't do very many covers. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest with you. I see him pop up every once in a while. You know,
he was working on so Kanan did the Harlem Hellfighters with Max Broke. That was cool.
Yeah.
And me and Kanan had like a 2-hour interview. I had a 2-hour interview with Jason Metcalf. So like Jason Metcalf's another one who's just slaying dragons right now and does everything on Kickstarter. I gotta actually speak to Jason Metcalf because he's great at what he does. But it's this idea that Kanan done some Kickstarter stuff, and then he does every once in a while. He used to do a bunch of covers for Xenoscope, or at least color stuff. And yeah, I haven't seen his name pop up in a while.
Yeah, I really haven't either. Because I remember he did the Hellcats thing with Max. So Max, Max was the last one person that I worked with when I left Avatar. We were doing the Alan Moore Cinema Purgatorio, which was an anthology, the black and white anthology, and Max was writing the For a More Better Union. And it was a world alternate history civil war, where the North and the South combined to fight against giant ants. And I was doing the art for it. I did like the first 7 issues, and then I bowed out. So.
See, I don't know any of this. This is like how bad I am at this. It's like all the good shit. Like I need like somebody just to build me a fucking list of like from the 90s or even from like an Antarctic. No. From Avatar Press of like the first 7 years of Avatar Press, and that'd be great. Cinema
Purgatorio was one of the last things that Alan Moore did before he said "fuck off" and left. You know, because it was an anthology, and he wrote the first. He had like the first story in it, and he did it with the guy that he did Watchmen with. He did the art for. Denny O'Neil? No, that's what's his name?
No. Denny was an editor at DC.
Yeah, he was.
Gibson, maybe.
Gibson, yeah.
Because it wasn't Lloyd who did V for Vendetta. I think Dave Lloyd did V for Vendetta.
And then Garth had Code Prue in it, and then Max Brooks had For a More Perfect Union. And then I think Christos Gage had one that was a Cujo with giant like Pacific Rim type story in it.
See, I don't know any of this, and this is the problem with comics is that like all this stuff is probably amazing to read, and it's probably great if you get it all digital like on your iPad. And like I just want to like I need somebody to build me a list of just be like, here's all the comics you read that Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai would approve. And like, it'd be great. It would be great because I guarantee you 90% of comic people want to read that. And it's just become so political and so complicated at this point that all I want to read is good stories. And all I want to read is just enjoyable stories. And I don't want to be anymore just pigeonhole. And I just want a good fucking story that actually has characters that do some cool shit and don't necessarily cater to any box.
And you should read Rover Red Charlie, man.
Hey, you know what it is? If I can find it digitally, I'll read it.
I guarantee you will cry, mister. You will. Wait a minute.
I'll cry.
Cry. Where's the finger at? It's got to be up here. You'll cry.
I've cried over other things that are probably a lot happier than that. So I have no shame anymore. I have no
Rover Red Charlie's. It's on digital somewhere. You can. It's free. So are all the Cinema Purgatorios. They're all free.
All of this stuff's free on Comixology. I have a Comixology subscription. It's in my budget for $6.37. I read a lot of Xenoscope. Like I went through half of Dan Wickline's shit on Xenoscope because I like Dan as a writer. And so that's just how I feel is that like all this stuff is great and like you worked on everything and like I don't even know like even 10% of what you worked on, which is terrible.
Who, me? I worked on Blood Rain. So I got my start doing a video game comic. And then from Blood Rain, I went to Boom Studios and I did TV show covers for all their TV properties, Farscape and Eureka. Ross Ritchie's wife was actually one of the creators for the Eureka TV show. And I did the alternate covers for the Eureka comic book series. I actually met the lead actor. He signed one of the covers for me on that Eureka.
We spoke about that last episode.
See, look, I got it right here. Look. See? And he signed it, man.
I have personal books. Like, I have a personal book signed by Paul Levitz. That's a cool book.
Is it?
Because the story of that is that Paul Levitz was a professor of mine when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
So every Tuesday for 2.5 hours, I got to listen to him lecture. and so he was teaching a class called Writing for the Media. Now, I needed a art class, right? So that counted as an art class because it was a creative writing class. And so basically for 15 weeks, he taught us how to write in different genres and talk about things, and it was great. And we had 1 week of comics, but like I'm just sitting there. I'm like, he's teaching me how to do certain things, and one of the most enjoyable classes I've ever taken. He was making probably no money teaching at Manhattanville College, where I went, but I guess he just said, "Hey, I want to teach," and he sort of helped get me an interview with Howard Cruz and Danny O'Neill. So, and I got to interview Paul Levitz, and then I saw him at a signing at Midtown Comics, and I'm like, "Hey, Professor, how are you?" He said, "Oh, hey, Andrew, how are you doing?" Like, he knows exactly who I am.
He remembered you.
And so, obviously, and then he signed like a book, and then he personalized the book. He said, "I look forward to seeing what your fate is," and like he's giving me good writing advice and a variety of other stuff. And he's just out and like flies out to Cali, I think, like every other week now, and he's doing stuff for DC as a consultant. And what he said to basically the entire class, word for word, he said that my boss, when I was sort of getting promoted, he said, "You'll be happier than pig rolling in shit with the amount of money you're making." And so that's what he like basically said to the entire class, because he was like, "I flew in last night from Cali, and I couldn't sleep, and I was forced to watch NCIS during the entire flight because there was nothing better on." Like, I just started laughing because it's hilarious, but that's kind of, and so anything Levitz, has written, I like to read that too, because all the good shit's good. Chuck Dixon's another great writer. Nightfall, brilliant fucking Batman arc. They don't just do comics that way anymore.
I'm just a cover guy. Well, I don't get very many comps. A lot of the companies now don't really provide comps. It's very few. So if I don't, and it's been a long time since I've done interiors, so I don't really see any scripts to read. The last thing that I really read was when I did the art for Dan Wickline, because I was done with Rover Red, and then Max Brooks's scripts I read. But other than that, I don't really get a chance to read a whole lot of comics or really follow it. I'm always drawn, busy.
Well, for me, I buy a lot of comics. I do not read a lot of comics by nature. So you might see me taking in a given year, like maybe like 1,000 comics. I am maybe reading, technically, out of those 1,000 books I'm maybe reading maybe like 20 of them. And so I don't read what I take in. I read stuff digitally, but I'm also, what I read, I read a lot of Xenoscope. So I'm not just a comic collector, but I don't crack open a book. I'll read it digitally. Xenoscope is on 80% of their libraries on Comixology. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier for me to read on my iPad than it is to read a comic book and then have to physically put it away and take care of it. And that's why I like reading digitally. And even with like Kickstarters, like if you don't send me a digital copy of your book, I'm not going to read it. I'll back your project, but send me a fucking digital copy of your book. Because
I got boxes of comics down in my basement, but they're all from the 90s. I used to read a lot of comics, and I used to play a lot of video games. The minute I started drawing professionally, though, all that shit went away. I collected, and I haven't played a console game in 25 years.
So let's talk about that, because this is actually, I think, super important. And I think this is a great clip for Instagram for me. And I'm not going to lie, because I'm totally going to cut this into Instagram. But one of the things is that this is something that I think people don't understand is that I do 4 to 5 interviews a week. And before I started podcasting 10 years ago, I would watch like 1,000 episodes of anime a year. If I watch 400 episodes of anime a year, that's a lot. I used to read a lot of books. I used to read like 30 to 40 books a year. If I read 10 a year now, it's a lot, and the reason why is that my time is extremely valuable, and every interview that I do takes anywhere from 3 hours to just prep up time. If sometimes it takes an hour if I know what I'm doing and I know the guest, or it's less formal, or I'm just going to wing it because I feel comfortable enough. But there's prep up time where it takes 3 hours to prep up. Then it's an interview. Then I'm pushing it out. Then I'm booking the next guest. And people say, they think that this is like a 20 to 25 hour job a week, what I'm doing here. And it might not seem like it, but it is. And there's a reason why people say, I'm going to start a podcast. And then after episode 20, they drop. And I think that's something that they don't understand about artists. They don't understand is that once you start entering a professional field, your time becomes very, very cut up very easily. Yeah. And I'll go further where I'm very interested in taking my money and investing in the stock market. And that is my secondary job beyond my day job. So I have 3 jobs. So if I have to spend an hour every night or 15 minutes or 20 minutes looking at the market and understand what the hell's going on, and I don't do it every night, but I do it multiple times a week where I'm spending maybe 2 hours a week actually looking at my finances and saying, what moves can I make financially to produce wealth, and what do I need to be aware of in my entire financial battle plan? Like, that's what happened. And that's why I'm not watching anime, because I'm spending those 2 extra hours doing that, which has to be done on top of the 25, on top of a 40-hour work week. And I'm single right now, but when I have a girlfriend, I might get 6 hours of sleep, because I got to keep her happy too. So, but I'm also achieving success because of it.
I'm sorry. Did you say you get less sleep because you got to keep her happy now, huh?
Yes.
And you said anime, not hentai, right?
I said anime.
Okay.
I'm a big anime fan.
Is that no keeping her happy or what?
What?
Are you blushing? Don't blush.
This is so bad. Clearly, this is not the episode Mix-Em wanted. Clearly. This is going to be the episode people are going to point to and be like, I came to Andrew. I wasn't a fan of Mix-Em before, but after that interview with Michael, I'm doubling down, and I'm not using 5%. I want them to charge me double just for the interview. So, no, I don't think Mix-Em really cares, because I bring them a lot of money, and that's the end of the day, is that I produce results. And if you produce results, nobody gives a shit what you do. That's what I've learned in my life. In the last 8 months, that's what I've learned, which is probably a good lesson, is that if you produce results, nobody cares what you do.
Make it pretty, man.
Oh, even if it's not pretty, if you bring somebody legitly over 5 figures and they paid you way less than that, they're not going to care how you did it. But anyway, what were you saying about why you're laughing at my entire logic? I'm curious.
No, because you're like, and then when I got a girlfriend, I only sleep for 6 hours because I got to keep her happy. And then I was wondering, was that anime really hentai that you were watching instead? No,
it's not even that. It's the idea that then she's going to be like, we never talk.
Look, I've been married for 35 years, okay? And I don't know how, but we are. And we're really happy, okay? But, she's the reason that I started drawing professionally, because she got me all the tools I needed. She got me a tablet and stuff that came with software, and I started drawing digitally. So, but,
I'm sure that when I meet a girl, she's going to bring me to the next level in my career, without a doubt.
We'll get you a golden microphone.
No, maybe. She'll just be encouraging and supportive, and she'll force me to eat because I'll forget to eat, and she'll probably bring me to the next level, and it'll be good, and then I'm gonna get rich doing it, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
My wife's very supportive of what I do. Even all the the boobs and everything, all the different covers, she's all right with it.
No. But my point is that, and the reason why we're talking about this is that I don't think people understand the sacrifices that come with all of this. And I think people think that what you do and what artists do and what writers do and all that shit just doesn't happen. There's real sacrifices and there's real things that are given up.
There are sacrifices. There are. I know when I still held a regular day job, I would work the day job, and then I would come home and I would draw covers for Blood Rain. But you know what? I really wouldn't call reading less comics and playing less video games a sacrifice or something that I'm missing to have a profession and something that I really love doing. And that's the one thing, is that I don't feel that I have a job. I don't feel that I have an occupation, but I have a career, and it's something that I love to do. And you know what? If it means I play less video games or read less comics, then you know what? That's a trade-off I'll take every day of the week.
For me, I am in that weird position where what I'm doing is now starting to make money, and it probably cannot support me full time for a while at least.
Well, that's why you get a wife.
No. So I have a day job, or I did have a day job. I'm in between jobs at the moment. But it's the idea that I will have a 40-hour work week. And then that's why I'm giving up some anime stuff and giving up some reading of comics, because I'm working on the thing at night instead. And there's nothing wrong. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy talking about all this stuff. But it's this idea that I'm well aware that until it is able to support me, full time, this is just the path to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we'll have to start somewhere, and you don't sell the farm and then go broke to follow your dream. That is a stupid idea by nature. That is the worst thing you can do. At least that's my opinion on the topic. Maybe for some people it's the best thing to do, but that's just how I feel. But also I'm making money as a podcaster for the first time. Not a hell of a lot of money, but I'm making money, and even if you make $1, it's more than not making $1. And so
it's a tough decision. I know when it was time for me to get out of the working world and come home and do art for a living professionally, it was a tough decision, because certain things were positives and certain things were negatives, and you really had to weigh them out. And the only advice you can give is that you got to do what you think is best for yourself and what's best for your family. Like you said, some people are like, yeah, let's burn the boats. There is no going back. I'm just going to quit this job and I'm going to throw myself into this. And then some people hang on to that other job. Oh, they just don't want to let it go. And you're burning the candle at both ends, and so it's not really happy for you then.
I think what's going to happen to me is that I think it's another 3 to 5 years in a traditional setting, just because I want to build up a bigger nest egg. I want to build up safeties, and I also want to make sure that this is the right path of definitely being out on my own, running my own business. And, maybe the idea for me and my battle plan for the next 5 years is to have that regular job and then build a business at night, build a business on the weekends. And then once the business is healthy enough to support me, then you jump ship, which I think is just my nature, just because it is the least risk invasive position for me. And also, my goal is to build multiple businesses all in the same thing. Well, this podcast stuff is self-contained. It just needs to grow. And I'm doing that right now. And I don't have to grow at 90 miles an hour. I could grow at 50 if I want, which is less stressful. And then I'm building out a whole separate business with dealing with comic book investing and teaching that side. And so that is going to be built. And again, I can grow that over 3 years. And then all of a sudden, you can then jump ship when you are financially in a better position, or it's even possible, or you've proven the idea that this can work. And so I'm smart enough to know that that's that. Or conversely, I could just tame down all this stuff, and then this can produce me extra money, and then I can just buy and sell comics and just continue my eBay business that's producing me anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 a month extra, work a day job, and then just invest my money in the stock market. And then over 40 years, I'll be worth like a few $1 million and not worry about it. There's nothing wrong with all three of those things. There's nothing wrong with anything that I just outlined. Or you can just say, fuck, we're burning the bridge.
Burn the book.
And then I'll become an artist who doesn't know how to draw. It'll be great.
Learn to draw? Drawing's not. It's practice. It's practice, man.
I did learn how to draw, and I just need to practice and just continue and just push forward. But again, I don't want to draw. I want to write, to be honest. And
all right.
I don't have a good idea right now. And I'm a little bit stressed. I'm doing my Kickstarter. It's funded, so thank God.
You talk to enough artists, you could probably, get the artwork for it.
Yeah, you know what it is? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm right now, technically, I'm right where I'm supposed to be, where at some point I will write something. But, in life, it's the idea that sometimes you're right where you need to be. And I'm not worrying about it. But my next 5 years is going to be fun.
Well, whatever your story you write, I'll do the cover for, okay?
Yeah, well, I'm going to pay you for it, most likely.
For sure.
I'll pay you over value. I'll tell you what I'm doing off air. I don't want to tell people what I'm doing. You'll appreciate it on a meta level. You'll appreciate what I'm doing, and you'll appreciate who I'm seeking after. So obviously, but this entire episode just got completely derailed. But I do want to sneak in some Uber because I do like Uber.
Did you have any art questions for me?
I like Uber. So Uber's great. That just got reshot out, that cover.
Did it?
Yeah, that cover got reshot out.
He's retreading there. He does that.
And he does. Because that's a cool one right there.
I did not do the border. I only did the guts. I only did the center, the painted stuff. I don't know who drew the.
But I kind of like that. That's kind of a cool cover, though.
I didn't know that they did that. Well, there's two versions. There's just the one with her because he wanted her breaking out of a building that fell on her.
Yeah.
And then he framed it for another one.
So I kind of like this cover a lot. I'm actually going to see and try to find this one on eBay with like the border and all the soldiers down there because that kind of gives a really cool feel to it. But you didn't do the border per se. I just like the feel to it. I think it's a really cool, feel, and that's why I wanted to. But it just got reshot out like a few months ago. Yeah. Those three, so they're super cool, and I think obviously, I think it makes sense to recycle content. Mm-hmm. And if you're a company and you can make a few extra dollars off of the content, and then every 3 or 4 years you shoot it out again for a new audience, it makes 100% sense on a business level.
As long as you let it be known that it's not a first printing or anything like that,
I think what they did with this one is that I think they shot it out like a VIP book. So like they repurposed it with it, and they said it's like a special edition. Yeah. And it might be for like a con. And so, obviously it's different from the first edition, for instance, but it's also a con exclusive, and that's kind of cool.
I did a lot of con exclusives for Avatar. Avatar did a lot of conventions. They did the circuit pretty regularly. I mean, they even did the London con. They traveled to London and Toronto. I never got to go to London, unfortunately. But you know what? I did go to all the Chicago shows for them, and I did represent them out in for Phoenix a couple of years ago. Or well, not a couple, but maybe 10 or 15. I don't know.
So I do want to back out of art, and I'm curious because you may or may not think like me, but I'm curious where you think cons and COVID are going, because obviously things are getting better and things are getting worse at the exact same time, and things are very complicated in the entire comic world right now. And I'll state my opinion, and it's well known that I'm not interested in going back to cons, even if they're safe. And the reason why is that I'm making more money on the internet, and I think my time is better devoted to where the world is shifting to. And so that's how I feel, is that I'm part of digitalization 2.0. And digitalization pivot, not meaning comics are becoming digital. It's a common misconception when I say that, meaning that I want to sell as much physical product through the internet, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. I want people to know who I am on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And that's where my focus is. And that's where I'm playing in. Because why do I want to sell to the 50,000 people at a convention when I could sell to 7.5 million people instead in the United States who are interested in a book? And so that's how I feel. So I'm curious how you feel about all that.
Well, as someone who is officially retired from the convention circuit, I'll probably never sit behind another table again.
You're coming to my table. If you do a cover for me, I will fly you out.
All right. Okay. Well, that's how I'll go then, if you fly me out.
We're going to New York Comic Con now.
For me, conventions have turned into these weird carnivals of odd circus performers and
but it's not like a Motley Crue carnival, right? Because those are fun.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know with the current.
So let me ask you
with the COVID, I don't think cons are really coming back.
So look, I'm going to ask you a question about conventions, because the way I view cons is that every Comic-Con is now a pop culture event where it matters the guests, it's who celebrities you have, and there's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy meeting celebrities.
It's not comic conventions anymore. Like you said, they're pop culture events. Now, and that's where that carnival atmosphere comes about.
So I've gone to, pop-up comic shops, which is different. A pop-up comic shop, in my definition, is that there's a bunch of dealers, and on one side of this hall, or usually sometimes they're in a firehouse when I was in DC. One side was baseball cards and trading cards, and the other side was comics. That, to me, is a comic trading card show. That, to me, there's no guests. It's just there's cool deals. People are talking. People are selling books, and they're selling baseball and football cards. That, to me, is what Comic Cons used to be in a lot of ways. And then you had some comic guests. I've also been to some Comic Cons where the only guests that were there were comic writers like Scott Lobdell, or, I can't think of the guy who created the Hulk. One of the guys who created the Hulk was there. And then all these other indie guys were there. And then there's somebody selling comic book cupcakes, which is cool. That makes sense because everybody loves cupcakes. And then that to me is a Comic-Con. But now you go to New York Comic Con, you have Jimmy Fallon there, and you have all these celebrities, and then you also have Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo there, who basically do Batman. And that to me is kind of a weird dichotomy.
Wait, Capullo lives in New York, doesn't he?
Scott lives in New York. I don't know where Greg lives, but Scott lives in New York.
With that accent, I'm pretty sure he's from New York.
They're both from New York.
They are. That's their hometown for them, so of course they're going to go.
But they're comic people. Even if they flew out to Phoenix, Arizona, that doesn't bother me if it's a Comic-Con. It makes sense they're there. It doesn't make sense that Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel is at New York Comic-Con. It's Comic-Con, and New York's in front of it.
I live 20 minutes from the Motor City Comic-Con. 20 minutes. And of all the cons I've been to, that con has always treated me the shittiest. And I live 20 minutes from it. And I would go every year until I was like, I'm not going to go anymore. Screw you. Fuck off. Not going to happen. Serious. I have never been treated so poorly and like such a third-class artist, citizen, than I have at my own hometown convention. And I'll never go back.
I won't go to BlurredCon. I used to go to BlurredCon a lot, and I got treated so poorly. And that was my last con before COVID, and I am still bitter from it. And I'm like, fuck this shit. And there's a lot of people in that community who know exactly how I feel. Yeah. And but then, people are like, so why aren't you doing this anymore? I'm like, you want to know why? And they're like, oh. And so that's my last con. And then Anime USA, they treated me like shit too. And I used to be a resident in DC, and I'm like, I'm a fucking resident in DC who's legitimately the year before did 7 fucking panels for you. Are you guys gonna seriously treat me like shit? Like, where do we go from here? And that's why I'm going digital. And I'm like,
if you were a professional wrestler, they would have rolled out the red carpet for you.
There was a professional wrestler.
Or you were an extra on The Walking Dead. Either way, you know.
I mean, I shot an email to them and I said, you do know that Brittany Blake, who's a professional wrestler who wrestles in the DMV area and is big in MCW, which is a big company that's like a feeder to WWE. And like she lives like legitimately like 20 miles outside of DC. And she's walking around Anime NYC or not NYC, Anime USA. And I'm like, you have Brittany fucking Blake here. Are you guys insane? Like, you have a professional wrestler and you don't know what the fuck you're doing with her. This is the person you talk to who legitimately, she's got like 20,000 Instagram followers. She's a resident of the fucking district and you're not having her at your con, and she's a cosplayer anime fan who's a wrestler who has a big reach and you're not reaching out to her. Like, what the fuck? Like, cons are stupid sometimes.
You are passionate about it.
I got no problems. I don't give any fucks. I don't care. But this is where I'm at, is that because they have no influence over me anymore. And
they're gonna die anyway. As long as you have fear of infection. Okay? They're done. You know? It's everyone should just go in a hazmat suit. With the bubble on, you know, look like young Sheldon in his Nassau suit, you know, so he won't catch any germs.
Hey, you know what it is? Everything I can get now, I can get off the internet. Xenoscope runs virtual cons. I don't need to leave my house.
Speaking of virtual cons, I'll be at the one in February with Frank Tedesco. Is that his name? Frank? George? Yeah. Ralph.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun. I should sneak in there.
Don't tell him I got his first name.
I would tell him anything.
But you know, yeah, it's shit.
It's the 13th, I want to say.
Mine is on a Thursday. It's 7 p.m.
Oh,
so whatever Thursday is.
Oh, it's gonna be a freaking bloodbath.
What does that mean?
Otherwise, it's just gonna be expensive. Those things just like drain my wallet.
Oh, yeah. Battle at Waterloo in your wallet, huh? Massive.
Yeah, it's not. No, because you spend a lot of money really quickly, and that's what it is. So I have to. I mean, if it's, I got like 2.5 weeks technically before it pays maybe like $100. So that shouldn't be that hard.
Like $100. Hang on, I'll tell you the exact. Yeah, Ralph Tedesco.
Ralph's been on a bunch of times actually. Dave's been on. I need to get Dave Wall on.
The 10th at 7.
Oh, that's not too bad. I got a few days to raise about $100, which is what it'll cost me. But
February, that's 20 days.
Yeah, I got like 2 weeks, really. So it's not that hard to raise money, you know. I mean, it'll all be good. I'll have $100 by that day.
You're just gonna have to sell. You're just gonna have to buy whatever he has of mine, or I will be marginally, slightly, well, not even really offended. It's okay. Get what you want. I don't care.
I don't know. You know, I know exactly what I'm gonna get, and they're not gonna have a Zen box, which is what I usually buy, and I'll just limit it to like a $40 purchase. It's not that big of a deal. I'll pick and choose what I need because I buy enough shit from them, and I'm sure that I got some good stuff on eBay right now from them. So I'll be fine in the long run. But anyway,
how much of my crap are you selling on eBay, huh?
What?
How much of my crap are you selling on eBay?
I'll plead the fifth.
Does it sell well though?
Yeah, some of your stuff sells good.
Does it? I always like to hear that. You know.
If I buy a book of yours, some of your early stuff on Xenoscope, and I buy it for like $3 on previews, maybe it sells for like 12, which isn't bad.
That's good.
For a regular book to have a 4X, you know, it's not like I'm going to get rich off of you. It's not like I buy an eBay for 20 and then I sell it for 60 because it's not a 250 print run. But you know, it all depends what you get in on with all this stuff. But then there's other stuff like your Xenoscope stuff probably doesn't do as well as the Lady Death stuff and those exclusives, because that shit's just a lot more rare. And it's nothing personal against your art style. It's just that if you have a book that only has 200 copies out there, it's going to do better than a book that has.
For sure. For sure.
And also, it's the idea that nobody knew what the fuck your Art Deco books were or what those New York Comic Con Lady Death books were. And fast forward, 6 years later, Lady Death is the hottest thing on the planet. They're like, want that shit now? And like, oh, it's $200. Just went to $250. Let me buy it in now at $225. Like, that's what happens. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the idea that sometimes somebody buys a book for $20 and then it just mad appreciates extensively. And some of your stuff does that really, really well because people like Lady Death and they're Lady Death collectors and they need it for their collection. Mm-hmm. I am personally not a Lady Death collector because it just is not something that I got into. And then there's 14 choices, and I'm not anti-Lady Death. If you give me Lady Death to read digitally, I'll read it, but I'm not interested in collecting because I got 15 choices on my plate, and I'm more into Xenoscope right now.
Now, as an artist, the difference between the Lady Death crowd and the Xenoscope crowd is that the Lady Death crowd is really into original art. They like the covers, but they really love original art. Xenoscope crowd is really into covers. Covers. Who's got this cover? Where can I get this cover? Where can I find this cover? You post the original art for that cover, nobody gives a shit. The original art market for Xenoscope is practically non-existent. There's a few people that will buy, but for the most part, I can post something on Facebook and it just goes.
Yeah. I mean that cover for the Steampunk Robin did not go for a lot.
What one? But I know what you're no, not the
this cover. The original art was not an expensive piece.
Mm-mm. And I know that, so I kind of leave them. I kind of keep them low.
But if that was a Lady Death piece, that thing would have flown out the window.
For sure.
Very easily.
Any of the Lady Death commission or any of the Lady Death pieces that I do, like just fan art I put up for sale, they don't go more. They're 2 days and they're gone. And
it's the idea that there's all these Lady Death original sketch cards, and those things are expensive on eBay, where you're talking $90 to $100. Very, 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 and they don't come down; they go up in price.
Yeah,
we're talking like original art on a little sort of blank sketch card, by artists I've never heard about, but obviously they must be sort of, I guess, blessed either by Chaos or Infinity 5 or another company, and it's the idea that those things are expensive, and even on the cheap end, you're looking at $60 for a low end one of them.
For a card, for a sketch card.
Yeah, for like a 3x5 or not even like a trading card essentially is what a sketch card is. So, I mean, the Lady Death stuff goes for a lot of money. You throw up Mandy goes for a lot of money with that, and I love Mandy by Dean Yeagle. That's another fun name, and I love Dean.
Zombie Tramp is another big one that's runs in that circle.
Who?
Mendoza's done some. He's done some Lady Death covers. Dan Mendoza, the guy that does.
Yeah. Dan is big.
Zombie Tramp.
And that's now back in his control. That's a big deal. And then there's a few others.
She's a fun character to draw. I've had a few requests to draw her. Zombie Tramp.
I like Zombie Tramp. I have some Zombie Tramp. I have some nice, nude cover Zombie Tramps, and they're fun. And Dan Mendoza did some interior work for my friend Travis Gibb, Cthulhu Invades Oz, and Travis did good on that book because that's a big deal. I don't know as much about Dan, and that's somebody I would have a very interesting interview with, I think. But anybody I'm supposed to interview, I will interview at this point. I'm at that stage that anybody who I'm supposed to interview will be interviewed on my show in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's where I'm at, and it's an awesome position to be in. But again, Xenoscope's all about the covers. It's all about the covers.
Yeah, it really is. It truly is. It's, even on their VIP site and stuff like that, it's all about the covers. And on Facebook, I believe there's an actual group that talks about like original art for Xenoscope. But yeah,
I don't know that group.
There's no traction there. Trust me.
I don't know that group. I know the fan group, the regular group. There's a VIP group.
Yeah.
Again, I'm smart where I just know when Ebas sells. I know what Chazu sells. I know what Sunkumnaki sells. Like they're doing Pokemon covers. That thing is going to be bank.
What are they doing?
Pokemon covers. So they're doing their cosplay catch.
Oh, yeah. See, why doesn't Dave ever contact me about that? I'm going to have a talk with him.
I mean, it's great. So they have Paul Green for Collectors Club. They have Chazu's doing the board stuff, like board Monopoly subscription. I don't know who's doing the movie stuff, but Sun's doing all the Pokemon this year. And, and then people are doing the holiday stuff, but I know how to make money with Xenoscope, but the Pokemon books are going to be banked. But I'm not going to say any more because
and Sun is doing those.
Sun Kumanaki, yeah.
She's doing the Pokemon. She's painting the covers.
She's either digitally doing it or painting it or drawing it.
Josh Burns doing some of them too.
I don't think Josh is doing any of the Pokemon stuff. But I'm sure Josh Burns will have a few covers coming out because I think he does have some cover stuff coming out, or he might be just taking a break from comics. I think. He might be taking like a month or two off because he's probably
follow each other on Instagram, but I've never spoken to him.
He's a Facebook friend, but I tried to get him on my show. He's like, I'm awkward. I'm like, that's cool, man. No worries.
I'm awkward. What artist isn't?
I'm like, I'm weird too. It's all right. I am not a difficult interviewer. I'm getting Pat Shan on probably this week. I actually have to reach out to Pat Shan because he actually did back my Kickstarter, which was kind of cool. It's a weird name when you have Pat Shan on your Kickstarter list. It's like I'm like, oh shit, like this is kind of cool. Like,
what that is.
Pat Shan is a writer for Xenoscope.
I'm gonna get fired, aren't I?
Yeah, don't worry. No. You're not gonna get fired.
I'm work for hire for them. I'm not under contract with Xenoscope.
They're just gonna throw you work anyway because you're good and you hand in work on time. That's all companies really care about. Because you know how many artists, and we don't have to get into the details of this, but so many artists don't fucking know how to hand in their work on time. They don't know how to actually do a cover. They don't
you know how many weekends at Avatar Press I had ruined, plans I had to cancel because I would get an email at Friday evening because they needed a cover done over the weekend because someone couldn't turn their shit in. So, no, I know all about it.
It's not even that. I mean, I didn't release this episode with Scott Lobdell, but he was saying, like, there's been, things where, like, they needed a story, and they hit me up on a Thursday, and they need it by Tuesday, and I got to write 22 pages on Excalibur for X-Men. It's like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm like, and Scott's like, I guess I'm going to write. And then in, like, 3.5 days, he's like, here you go. I don't know if it's any good, man, but fuck it. And, then like they have to get their artist to draw it in like 10 days, which is insane. It's like, so if you actually show the fuck up and you do your job, you're going to be fine.
Well, if I remember correctly, some of those, I think Michael Turner used to only do figures. And then he had a completely another artist that did all the backgrounds. I don't know if that was more towards the end when he was sick, but I know Talent Caldwell used to draw his backgrounds. I read that somewhere.
I don't know much about Michael Turner beyond that. I just love his art. I love his Supergirl. I spent good money. I spent like $30 on a Supergirl, Michael Turner, Teen Titans sort of remastered thing, and I was happy on like eBay to do it because I'm like, man, this book's awesome. It's like a reprint, but it's sort of his cover with Peter Steinberg or something, or Steinman. I forget the whole thing, but it's sort of remastered, but it's Michael Turner's art. I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, Michael Turner's Bad Girl art and Michael Turner's best character is Supergirl. There's nobody else who has ever drawn a better Supergirl than Michael Turner. And
he did a Lady Death sketch. Turner did that. Polito turned into a cover. and he regurgitates that cover like every other year with just a different background on it.
And it makes sense. I mean, I'm very, very. I call Campbell's best character is Mary Jane, and then sometimes Gwen Stacy. Michael Turner's best character is Supergirl. You cannot, legitimately, when you think of Supergirl, the only Supergirl you could ever think of is Michael Turner. The only Mary Jane you could ever think of is J. Scott Campbell. There's nobody else who can draw Mary Jane better than J. Scott Campbell. It just, you just, there's no competition.
Do you think Turner's more known for Supergirl or for Witchblade?
I think Michael Turner is more known for Supergirl. I really think. Because when I think of Michael Turner, I think of Supergirl. I do not think of Witchblade. And if you put a Witchblade and a Supergirl cover next to each other, I think people would pick the Supergirl cover. Because there's a very, very famous Supergirl Teen Titans cover that Turner did, and it is a perfect cover by definition.
Well, Turner did the costume design, and he actually did one of the more appealing costume designs for her. You know, and so I get where you would say that. You know,
I understand it could be a complicated question, complicated debate. Not saying Witchblade is not important. Soulfire, Aspen.
No, it's not. It's not whether anyone is more important. I was just asking your opinion. I don't think it's a debatable issue.
I think that Supergirl, it's not even an expensive cover. It's like a $10 cover on eBay. In fact, I might even buy it when we're done off air. I love it.
You deserve it. Treat yourself.
I've been buying a lot of cheap comics that are great comics, because it's awesome. They're fun to put up on Instagram. And
talking to me for 2.5 hours, you deserve a comic. You go get that comic.
I deserve a beer, but I'm probably just gonna pour myself Honey Jack and then legitimately watch fucking Law and Order with my dog. It's gonna be great. She's actually been a real trooper this entire day with 3 interviews. So she's been really good for the most part. But no. I just think Michael Turner with that Supergirl is arguably the best, because I don't think there's another Supergirl. And I think the only other person who's done a good Supergirl is Archer. That's it. Those are the 2, and that's the only thing that and I love Supergirl. Greatest scene is in Infinite Crisis where you're holding Supergirl in the arms. I mean, it's a great scene. That's old school. I think, what is that, George Perez, I want to say?
Yeah.
I read Infinite Crisis and I was like, man, this is awesome. And I just came across it in Barnes and Noble. I'm like, oh my God, who the fuck did this? And I'm 14 and I'm like, oh shit, this is amazing.
I never read that. I never read Crisis on Infinite Earth.
It was great. It was so good. And I was just like, oh shit, this is great. And then I was dying pretty much because I had a surgery on both my feet and I couldn't walk for 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I read Blackest Night. I'm like, Jeff Johns, fucking brilliant. Peter Tomasi.
Well, when I was in the Marine Corps, right? That's when my comic book reading slowed down because we couldn't get them on the bases. And I believe that's right when Crisis on Infinite Earth came out. Is the PX on the base, they very limited comic at all. We used to have to go out in town and find a damn comic store and shit when I was in the service. So a lot of that stuff I just right through 84 to 89 I just missed.
So for me, I went backwards in comics because I am 29 and I was born in 93, and I got into a lot of graphic novels when I was 12, 13, 14.
Older than you.
What?
My son's older than you.
So, but I went backwards because all this stuff got reshot out into graphic novel form in Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just coming across all this stuff, and I'm like, man, this stuff's great. And I didn't know it was new or old. I was like, man, this is good shit. It never occurred to me because I didn't come in as a comic book fan. I came in as a graphic novel fan.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you're reading all this stuff, and then you go to a comic store or you go to a pop-up comic shop or you're at a convention, this is what I read in a graphic novel form, and now I want this book. And like I came across Michael Turner, who did a bunch of covers for the Teen Titans by Jeff Johns. And I'm like, oh man, I want these covers now. And you actually find them, and they're like $3-4. I'm like, this is a Michael fucking Turner. Are you people insane selling this to me for $4? So there you go.
Print run,
And
printed 20,000 of them. So,
but
the graphic novel thing. That's how I came across like Kingdom Come with Alex Ross.
I have a signed copy of that by Mark Waid and Alex Ross because Comic Shop, they're signing in Stokey, Illinois. And it's really cool. It's inscribed to me, and it's a great book for $40. It's hardcover. It's great.
I did a cover for Mark Waid when I was at Boom. It was my first cover. It was Zombie Tales for him. And when he was the editor at Boom.
I like Mark Waid. He signed my Obama book that Stan Lee signed. And I'm going through the entire team, and I'm going to get that book CBCS and then hang it up in my man cave.
But yeah, because then the graphic novel that's how I got Dark Knight Returns. Because it came out when I was in the service. You know, it was the 3 or 4, and I didn't really get a chance to get my hands on it until after I got out, and it was in the big graphic novel form, all compiled.
I enjoy early Frank Miller, but late Frank Miller is not doing great.
No, it looks like he draws with his feet.
But we don't have to go too deep into that because Sin City's great, but it's a complicated discussion that's a whole nother 4 hours, and I do not want to be on.
Though, I mean, the older you get, you have diminished skills, and
there are very few people whose skills have become bigger in that. Like Charles Schultz is a good example of that. Where Peanuts, because when he started having issues, he just adapted it into a whole new style, and it benefited him to a whole new level. But again, that's a different discussion. But yeah, so that's that. But I think I'm going to start wrapping this up, and I do want to self-promote because you've been here for 2.5 hours, which is technically 30 minutes too soon that we're going to wrap this up. But that's not the point here. Yeah, but I do want to give you a chance to promote because you got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, Karma.
Just get Karma. Just go. Give it. Just get one.
Well, but in all seriousness and joking around, obviously buy Karma, everybody. But where can people find you? Where can people buy your stuff? Where can people?
Facebook. It's always Facebook. I do everything through Facebook. I'm one of the few people that don't have a website, or you can follow me on Instagram. I think it's M DiPascale 1. And then my Facebook is just my name.
Yeah. So actually go follow Michael on Facebook. You sell a bunch of art.
I do.
You do a bunch of other stuff on Facebook. And if there's something you want and you see a cover, just message Michael on Facebook, and if he has it, he'll sell it to you most likely.
I will do it. I will do it.
Or if you want a commission or you want anything, chances are Michael, if he has it, he'll sell it to you. He'll draw you something. If you want a cover and you're an indie guy or you're a Kickstarter, because I don't think you're opposed to somebody saying, "Hey, I need a cover and I'm willing to pay you." Are you?
I like doing the Kickstarter covers.
Or even like a print or anything really that you're down for it. And I'm also assuming that if somebody wants to interview you, you're down for that too.
Absolutely. I'm a blabber.
Yeah, so obviously go hit him up and just be like, hey, would you interested in doing this? I got this going on, and I would love to do something and see if you can make it work. Is all I'm going to say. And then as far as for me and promoting myself, obviously if you're printing a comic, use Mixum. Andrew Davis, 5% off because printing is expensive. Also use BCW Supplies, 10% off using Pop Anime Comics, as well as the idea that my dog is trying to run away and gotta just get her. It's okay, honey. You're fine. You're fine. So. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. And then my Kickstarter's up there, guys. I am fully funded. I am $14 over, which means I'm at 101%, but you can push me over. You get this sweet metal card. You can get guaranteed guest spots. You can get live reads. You can just throw money in for free to say, hey, I want this show to continue. Or there's a bunch of other tiers up there that you can absolutely support. And I appreciate all support, but more than anything else, I appreciate sharing things around. And you should go buy Karma because it actually looks like an awesome book. And I am just poor and broke. So maybe I'll figure out how to get a digital copy so I can read it, because because I probably should support it. And I should probably reach out to Dan Wickline and get him on, because that'll probably also help too, because I didn't even know it was Dan Wickline until I actually started looking at it. So obviously that's everything I got, and I'm going to give you the final word.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting. Come see me if you need anything. If you want to talk, want to be my friend, I'm here. Thank you.
And on that note, it is a wrap.
See ya.